Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. Now, this is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. You can email me at reese@reesewaters.com. Today's nominee, Caitlin Clark fans. Oh, I'm sorry. Caitlin Clark trolls. And here it is. I thought they got the message when she liked Taylor Swift's tweet.
So, Caitlin Clark liked Taylor Swift's post endorsing Kamala Harris, and now her comments on Instagram look like this. Just threw away my jersey, hashtag Trump 2024. I noticed you liked Taylor Swift endorsement posts of Camille and Tampon Tim. I figured you were more based and more aware. Bummer. Just play basketball and build your brand, a brand that the entire country can love. Stay out of politics. Your brand will suffer. You are young. Ask your close friends and family for advice. Definitely should have stayed out of politics, Caitlin Clark. Loved watching you, but now I refuse after seeing you support Taylor Swift and Kamala. Please don't get sucked into politics. Taylor Swift is fully endorsing candidates that want to allow children to be surgically or chemically treated to change their bodies permanently without parental consent. Do your own research. Think she's a phenomenal entertainer and talent otherwise. We lost another great baller, one of the best I've seen as a woman. I only started watching because of her outstanding skills, but now she's involved in the politics of the Democrats. I'm moving on to something else. You are a female athlete. Why would you support a party that are allowing men to play women's sports? You just couldn't keep your politics out of sports. You've lost millions of supporters. Trump 2024. Dang, supporters you when all the liberal WNBA were against you, but can't support someone that is voting for Kamala, whose policies will hurt the future generation's ability to own a house or get a high-paying job. Was just starting to finally pay some attention to the WNBA because somebody was actually worth watching, then you caved. Bae, why are you a Democrat? Them folks told you to shut up and dribble, huh? That's crazy. Crazy. All this over Instagram like.
Do you think Caitlin Clark supporting Kamala Harris, will that break the spell, the hold that Caitlin Clark has on me?
At Friday's news conference following the conclusion of the Indiana Fever season, rookie Caitlin Clark and head coach Christy Sides condemned the racist rhetoric that many WNBA players said that they've experienced this season.
Nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans, those are trolls, and it's a real disservice to the people in our league, the organization, the WNBA.
Let's go ahead and check out a sampling, just a quick run through. And here I thought it was about the love of the game. Here I thought it was about real, honest, genuine interest in women's basketball. We accuse you of trying to use her to perpetuate your racial fantasies. No, everything is about race with y'all. Everything is about race with y'all. Now look at you. Huh? Man, that hit dog hollered. I'll tell you that right now. Y'all didn't even consult the rules of racism. Let me go ahead and check out that handbook. Let me break it out right now. Okay, first of all, what part of the rules of racism is picking somebody who's in a team sport? You want to pick somebody who's in a team sport, a sport that is predominantly black, and use them to realize your racial fantasies. How exactly is that going to work for that person when that is the environment that she's operating in while she's trying to excel in a black space? Huh? How does that help her? That's just what I want to know. How does that help her to carry the weight of your racial fantasies? And how does that make her look that you are using her to carry the weight of your racial fantasies in a predominantly black league? Then you add on to that the fact that because it's a predominantly black league, she has predominantly black teammates. How are they supposed to react to that? Huh? How are Caitlin Clark's teammates supposed to react to knowing that she is carrying the weight of the most ignorant, hateful, racist trolls on her back with every assist and made three-pointer? Huh? Do I want to complete this three-point play to give her an assist knowing y'all racists going wild out and call me ends? Do I really want to do that? Talk about hustling backwards. Y'all want to have this girl out here throwing passes to herself. Actually, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. What you actually want is an all-white team. That is exactly what you would want, is an all-white team. The online targeting of WNBA players reached a tipping point during the postseason after the Connecticut Sun eliminated the Fever in the first round of the playoffs on Wednesday. Sun veteran Alyssa Thomas pointed to the Indiana Fever fan base as directing hateful comments at her and her teammates. Sun guard Dejanay Carrington shared online before Game 2 against the Fever an email she received from an anonymous source that included threatening and racist language. Let's just call it a threatening and racist email. That's what it was. This all came because Carrington inadvertently poked Clark in the eye during Game 1 between the Sun and the Fever. Clark went on to shoot 4 of 17 for 11 points in Indiana's 93-69 loss. Clark's fans, quote unquote, blamed her poor shooting performance on Carrington, and the Sun guard was harassed and received death threats because of it. Because that's what we want to be doing, is legislating any physical contact that she has with any other player, right? Because that is your genuine interest in the game, is reacting that way to any time she is involved in any sort of play with a black person. And if there's flames to be fanned, you know USA Today's Christine Brennan can't be far away. It's like you put out the bat signal. She just comes scurrying. At shoot-around the day before Game 2, and this was a game in which Alyssa Thomas had a triple-double, Napheesa Collier had 42 points, and Sabrina Ionescu scored 36. Christine Brennan just had to ask Carrington if she intended to hit Caitlin Clark in the eye.
Dejanay, did you, when you went and kind of swatted at Caitlin, did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or if not, either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. But no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her. So obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am. So yeah.
Did you and Marina kind of laugh about it afterwards? It looked like there was later on in the game they caught you guys laughing about it.
No, I just told you I didn't even know I hit her, so I can't laugh about something I didn't know happened.
Well done, USA Today. Well done. I can see you guys are keeping your level of journalism intact. I love the way that, just like the fans, the worst fans, quote unquote, you have a journalist here trying to legislate every contact that Caitlin Clark has with another black person. Way to give that thing oxygen and gas. Also note the follow-up. She tried to trip her up and she thinks she's slick. She thinks she's slick. You saw that. She just said it was an accident, but then she wanted to ask her about laughing about it. You think, see, yeah, no. They need to come for her, huh? Oh, they did? All right. On Friday, the WNBPA, which is the Women's National Basketball Players Association, released a statement that called Brennan out by name. Oh, you gotta love that justice. The union called Brennan unprofessional and said she tried to bait a professional athlete into participating in a narrative that is false and designed to fuel racist, homophobic, and misogynistic vitriol on social media. Quote, I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments like those from the Indiana Fever fan base, Thomas said. It's unacceptable, honestly, and yeah, there's no place for it. We've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it. Now, I do want to holler at the Indiana Fever fans because I've had this conversation with regards to men's teams, how exactly it goes for you as a fan base to antagonize a pool of players that comprise the majority of those in the league. Like, how exactly does that help the Indiana Fever, assuming you are an Indiana Fever fan, and that's probably giving you way too much credit. I'm wondering how that helps the Indiana Fever for the black players to have the perception that y'all are racist. How's that gonna go? Because at the end of the day, you want Caitlin Clark to be your GOAT, right? You gonna need her to go deep in the playoffs, win some championships, this, that, and the other thing. She gonna, oh, the all-white team. That's right, you want the all-white team. Okay, so you would rather her lose until you get your all-white team. Is that what I'm getting? I'm assuming that's the case. At least on the men's side of things, you could say, well, some brothers will take the money. And regardless, you know, nobody's going to leave that pot of gold unclaimed. And if they have to deal with racial slurs because of it, that's what it is. But in the WNBA, quote, basketball is headed in a great direction, but nah, we don't want fans that are going to degrade us and call us racial names. That was Thomas, by the way. She also said the Fever should start checking their fans and also called on the WNBA to do more to protect its players. Amen. Sun coach Stephanie White said the toxicity her players have experienced, as well as players around the league, is unacceptable, but also a reflection of society. She specifically mentioned racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia as issues that plague the country. Now, the WNBA released a statement on Wednesday also condemning hateful comments towards players. The WNBA is a competitive league with some of the most elite athletes in the world. While we welcome a growing fan base, the WNBA will not tolerate racist, derogatory, or threatening comments made about players, teams, and anyone affiliated with the league. League security is actively monitoring threat-related activity and will work directly with teams and arenas to take appropriate measures, to include involving law enforcement as necessary. White said the media should not allow online trolls to become the story and potentially fuel harmful narratives. Fever forward Aaliyah Boston expressed a similar stance in her season-ending news conference, saying,
I feel like the media plays a big role in what other people think, whether they watch the game or not. Sometimes people aren't even watching the games. They're just looking at storylines, headlines that come out, and they're running off of that. And it's easy to attach yourself to the Fever because we have a lot of attention around us right now. And it's so easy to say, well, I'm a Fever fan, I'm an AB fan, I'm a Caitlin fan, and just dispute hate off of that. And that's never okay.
And Aaliyah Boston, by the way, is somebody that's been on both sides of it when she was at the University of South Carolina, which was upset by Iowa. They all of a sudden were the vanquished team in the movie that got beat by the White Knight. Now she's in a position of playing with Caitlin Clark as she has the weight of your racial fantasies on her back. Sides, by the way, the coach began her season-ending news conference on Friday alongside general manager Lynn Dunn by reading a statement that emphasized there's no place for hate or racism of any kind in the WNBA. She also said the people spreading vitriol aren't real Fever fans or WNBA fans. Yeah, they aren't even basketball fans. They are just fans of racism. Yeah, they are fans of racism and social media. That is all they are fans of. Clark, who won the WNBA Rookie of the Year award, mentioned in June that people shouldn't be using her name to push any hateful agendas. The number one pick broke several records throughout her first season and continues to bring unprecedented viewership ratings and attendance to women's basketball. Quote, there are a lot of really good fans, whether they've been fans for 20 plus years or whether they're new fans in our league. I think continuing to uplift this league in a very positive light is the best thing we can do, because there's so many great players, there's so many great teams, and there's so many positive storylines that can be written and celebrated. And for me, that's why I became a fan. As far as Caitlin Clark is concerned, I've outlined my feelings in my prior video. I'm in the position of really admiring the way that she plays basketball, yet at the same time hating that all of her victories, all of her records, all of her incredible athletic ability is being co-opted in the service of nonsense garbage MAGA politics. Which is really unfortunate because it makes me root against her thanks to no efforts of her own. She hasn't actually done anything, but I hate anything that makes those people happy. Yet at the same time, the fact that she has yet to attract or court these people in any way, the fact that she has gone about her business of just playing basketball, and at every opportunity where they try to toss her some bait to pick a side, she has decided that she's not going to, is extremely impressive, and it makes me root for her all the more. What I will say is I commend her for addressing this stuff head on at this particular point, but it's something that definitely could have been done sooner. That being said, I understand she has a lot that she's dealing with and processing right now. She is a rookie playing in a new league. So I'm gonna give her a bit of a pass right now. We'll see how she continues to interface with this moving forward. As far as the league is concerned, so let me get this straight. Vitriol and hate that's been spewed online, that's been directed at your predominantly black player pool and at black fans of the league, you now want to address after the Fever season is over? So you waited until the Fever season was over, and now you want to talk about the hate and vitriol that the rest of the players have been dealing with all season? Is that what you just did? So you made sure you went and got all the money. You made sure you went and got all of the racism money before you actually wanted to condemn something that's been going on for months. Well done. Well done. Quite frankly, y'all deserve each other. Quite frankly, y'all deserve each other. That is horrible. And now I understand why, like a magnet, they flock to the WNBA, because you was gonna let this go down. And as far as the racist fans are concerned, I guess you guys gotta, now that their season is over, you gotta find something new to realize your racial fantasies. It's probably a UFC card this weekend. Oh, it is? Okay, yeah. I'll see y'all over there. Today's nominee, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer and Harrison Floyd. That's right, all of them. Let's dig in. Former Black Voices for Trump director Marjorie Taylor Greene called me the N-word. Now, I want to first of all give a shout out to Midas Touch, because I tried to find more resources on this whole back and forth, and they apparently were the only ones that chronicled all of the drama and all of the tea. So shout out to them. Now, you guys probably remember that smoke between Laura Loomer and Marjorie Taylor Greene, don't you? Hey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, remember when you destroyed your family so you could have sex with a Zangief cosplayer? Now that's funny. Now that's funny. That's where you should have just went with it off the top. I don't know why you had to bring Kamala Harris into it. There's your A material. Why are you burying your A material in the third tweet? That was good work. Remember when you destroyed your family so you could have sex with a Zangief cosplayer? Who's writing her stuff? Tell me again how you and the Arby's in your pants are representatives of the GOP. What am I supposed to do with that? Huh? What am I supposed to do with that? Huh? Why do I have to pick a side here? You know what? Why? I don't want to give her. You know what? I'm a man of integrity. Arby's didn't deserve that. Now, there was one salvo that was lobbed at Marjorie Taylor Greene in the midst of all of that, claiming that she had dropped ends and that she might be able to provide proof. What I didn't know at the time and in the immediate aftermath was that the gentleman in question, Harrison Floyd, actually had been weighing on this the entire time. Here you have Harrison Floyd, the former Black Voices for Trump director and Trump co-conspirator, coming to Loomer's defense and saying that Greene's ends were directed at him after he issued a potential primary challenge. He posted, Laura Loomer was one of the first people to notice I was the only co-defendant that didn't come out of the Fulton County Jail and called a flight risk for no reason. That's weird. He got treated differently by the criminal justice system. That's That is unheard of. We might have to look into that. She personally reached out to my wife for support and helped raise awareness for my defense fund, now over $300K. If Laura is racist, she is bad at it. Harrison Floyd, she definitely is racist, and she definitely is bad at it. I would actually split the difference with you. There's no question that she's racist because we have evidence. We have photographic evidence, we have screenshots, and we even have video.
Far-right candidate Laura Loomer.
I'm Laura Loomer. I'm a senior at Barry University.
Long known to South Florida after secretly taping and accusing a Barry University professor of supporting ISIS, just winning the Palm Beach primary. And despite describing herself as a proud Islamophobe who has been banned from Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, the president supporting her.
So she definitely is racist. But as far as her being bad at it, I would actually happen to agree. I would happen to agree. In fact, one of the things that I said was the fact that she's using anti-black racism at a woman that she's swearing is Indian is just wildly inconsistent. And yeah, she is bad at it. Marjorie Taylor Greene has no room to call anyone racist or talk about what the MAGA community stands for when she refers to me as a N in private. She's never publicly supported me and tried to save her own skin. Our country, many serious issues. You know, honestly, if I didn't know Harrison Floyd, I might drop ends just based on how this was written. I mean, honestly, maybe she didn't even know what you look like, Harrison Floyd. Maybe she was just responding to your writing. Maybe that's where she was coming from with it. Our country, many serious issues, yet anytime Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the spotlight, it's always an issue of race/racism. We can't trust rhinos to do the right thing. We can do better. Well, that was an interesting thing to say. Whenever she's in the news, it's always an issue of race or racism, because she is the one that lobbied the initial accusation at Laura Loomer. I haven't known her to be a frequent patrolman in the racist streets. In fact, I think this was her first shift. So that was interesting. He actually continued, I beg your pardon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, given the things you've said about me in private, you have no room to call Laura Loomer or anyone else racist. If you want to talk about racist Republicans, instead of improving election integrity in Georgia, we can do that. Let's start with you. Yes, a member of the Georgia GOP Executive Committee that was helping me explore running for Congress will go on record, not the only one that knows or has brought it to my attention. Now, here is the reason why everybody is nominated and not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. So what I understand is that you were aware that Marjorie Taylor Greene had dropped ends. Laura Loomer was aware that Marjorie Taylor Greene had dropped ends, but it was perfectly fine until she very correctly identified Laura Loomer's comments as being racist. Here's the first problem. What about Marjorie Taylor Greene dropping ends makes Laura Loomer not racist? Like, that's the wildest thing to me. That is logic so crazy. That would be like arguing that Kamala Harris being Indian somehow makes Donald Trump black. Like, I'm trying to figure out what is the lot, like, how is that a suitable, well, you racist too? Like, okay, so now we're both racist? How is that a win for you? But it's actually much, much worse, because the only thing that I can conclude is that you were fine with it until you had a personal issue with Marjorie Taylor Greene. So you don't actually have a problem with her dropping ends. You have a problem with her stepping out of line after dropping ends. So Harrison Floyd, you were fine with the racism, and Laura Loomer was definitely fine with the racism. No question she was fine with the racism. She was just waiting to pull that out, which means it wasn't even something that was far from her mind. It wasn't like, oh, hey, she didn't go through days of digging through files, trying to figure out where she could come out at Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was right on Front Street. Right on Front Street. So you're all telling me that you're fine with ends. Just don't accuse me of being racist. Then he goes on, you might be able to hide from the people of Georgia 14 in your DC office, but I live here. Retract and apologize for your own racist, insensitive comments now, or I'll come to the Hill for it in person. Let me know if I need to get another member to escort me to the House floor or cloakroom. Now, Harrison Floyd, now you want an apology publicly for something that you knew had happened a long time ago. Now you want an apology. Does it get more performative than that? I don't know that it gets more performative than that. I mean, Nancy Pelosi kneeling in our federal building with kente cloth and doing Wakanda Forever was less performative than you asking for an apology right now. P.S. To be clear, this is not a threat or attempt to intimidate, simply saying people with honor apologize in person, and I'm happy to accommodate to make it a reality. The violence, threats need to stop. We can all do a better job of communicating our thoughts, myself included. I definitely second that. You absolutely can do a better job of communicating your thoughts. As far as you trying to clear up that it is not a threat or an attempt to intimidate, that is a wise move. Especially for somebody with your legal history. I could understand. My man has spoken to some attorneys. Yeah, my man has spoken to some. In fact, I'm pretty sure that tweet came from Greenberg and Betterman. That came from Greenberg and Betterman or Science and Kirk, one of the two. Now, for clarification, last year, Harrison Floyd expressed interest in a primary challenge to Greene, but ultimately took the advice to handle his legal issues first. He hasn't ruled out a future challenge to Greene, who has expressed interest in running for a higher office. Lord help us. Is anybody else getting Carl Baxter vibes? I'm getting a lot of Carl Baxter vibes. Y'all remember Carl Baxter? You know, the Florida man that was called a slave. The lawsuit states the two companies were joint employers of Baxter and accuses them of racial discrimination, retaliation, and wage theft. Defendants intentionally subjected plaintiff to disparate treatment, race discrimination, and violation of Section 1981 by subjecting him to less favorable benefits, privileges, terms, and conditions of employment than those experienced by similarly situated non-African American employees. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop us right there. Now, the thing with him not getting paid is understandable. The thing with him being called a slave, yes, those are grounds for your lawsuit. But now you're hitting me with conditions of employment less than those experienced by similarly situated non-African American employees, less favorable benefits, privileges, terms, and conditions. But all of this was okay before they called you a slave and didn't pay you. Is that what I'm gathering? Is that what I'm gathering? Because I don't understand if you felt like you were subjected to less favorable benefits, privileges, terms, and conditions, why you were still there for them to call you a slave. Unless your red hat had somehow convinced you that was okay, right? Your red hat had convinced you that it was all cool for you to be subjected to less. You just fell in line, didn't you? You just fell in line, and all of a sudden they went too far and called you a slave. Now all of a sudden you become the moral authority. Yeah, it was all perfectly fine till they withheld them checks. Yeah, it was all perfectly fine. Now we have not only a king, but a prince of the leopard face-eating ball. Congratulations. Now, Laura Loomer has offered to have Harrison Floyd on her show to share his story, but you know what? I'll save you the trouble, Laura Loomer. Georgia election racketeering prosecution. This should be good. Floyd was indicted along with Trump and 17 others in August of 2023 by a Fulton County grand jury and is accused of participating in a wide-ranging scheme to illegally try to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia. The charges against Floyd stem from allegations of harassment of Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County election worker who had been falsely accused of election fraud by Trump and his sycophants. Floyd took part in a January 4th, 2021 conversation in which Freeman was told she needed protection and was pressured to make false statements about election fraud. Stephen Cliffgard Lee, a pastor from Illinois, went to Freeman's home in December of 2020. He intended to claim to be offering to help her in order to get her to make false statements about what happened at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, where ballots were being tallied, the indictment says. After Lee failed to connect with Freeman at her house, he sought help from Floyd, a leader in the organization Black Voices for Trump, telling Floyd that Freeman was afraid to talk to him because he was a white man. Floyd solicited the help of Trevian Cuddy, who had worked as a spokesperson for R. Kelly and Kanye West, so clearly she's excellent and a good judge of character, too. She traveled to Atlanta from Chicago in early January 2021 to try to connect with Freeman. Cuddy arranged to meet Freeman at a suburban police precinct, and they spoke for about an hour, with Floyd joining the meeting by phone. Cuddy and Floyd told Freeman that she needed protection and that they could help her, but in reality, they were trying to influence her testimony and get her to lie about what happened at State Farm Arena. Floyd was the only one of the 19 defendants in the case to spend time behind bars at the Fulton County Jail in August, while the other defendants in the case had their lawyers reach out to prosecutors for a bond agreement before turning themselves into the jail. Floyd showed up on August 24th without a lawyer or a bond agreement. He was released on the 30th after his lawyer negotiated a $100,000 bond. Shout out to Science and Kirk. Remaining a supporter of the former president, Floyd requested in February that his bond conditions be relaxed to allow him to work on Trump's 2024 presidential campaign. I guess that's what all of this is about, huh? I guess this is all, it's all helping the campaign. Additionally, he sought the court's permission to use the social media platform X for discussions unrelated to the case, following previous issues arising from comments about Freeman. In November 23, Fani Willis failed to revoke Floyd's bond, citing social media posts, which that was a good case. That was a good. She didn't have. Now we got the evidence, Fannie. Now we got the evidence. We got the evidence. D.A. Willis stated he had engaged in numerous intentional and flagrant violations of his bond agreement, posting on Twitter that his effort to intimidate co-defendants and witnesses. However, Judge Scott McAfee found no intimidation in any of Floyd's cited posts. However, he did find a technical violation regarding tagging witnesses on the platform. Judge McAfee declined to remand Floyd and instead ordered a revision of his bond. In addition to the charges in Georgia, Floyd also faces federal charges that accuse him of aggressively confronting two FBI agents sent to serve him with a grand jury subpoena. Well, Floyd, you're in very good company picking Donald Trump. You got somebody to entertain you in the yard and somebody to trade commissary with. So you on the right side of that one. Unfortunately, as far as the court of racists of the week, I can't help you. Congratulations to you, Harrison Floyd. Congratulations to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and congratulations to Laura Loomer. You are our racist of the week. And I would like to add, see, this is what happens when you excuse people's behavior. When you excuse people's behavior, when you engage in pick-me behavior, this is what happens. That's what happened to Carl Baxter. And that's what's happening to Harrison Floyd. Because now all of a sudden you want to take a stand on racism, but how you look letting this go this far and then only deciding to come out with it to defend Laura Loomer's racism. How you look? I mean, come on. I mean, what do we even, this is the inevitable conclusion of pick me. This should be taught in schools. This should be taught in schools. It should say pick me lesson 1 and a picture of Carl Baxter, and pick me lesson 2 and a picture of Harrison Floyd. And in lesson 3 is going to be Mark Robinson. I'll tell you that right now. Oh, Rob Smith? Oh yeah, that's going to be advanced level. Now Candace Owens, man, she don't got a lesson. Oh, I got a text. Oh, Candace Owens mad she don't got a lesson. Oh, I got another one. Oh, that's Rudy Giuliani. Yes, wrong number. Today's nominee, New York Congressman Mike Lawler. Mike Lawler, according to photographs obtained by the New York Times, is the latest politician to join the Blackface clan, which he wore as part of a Halloween costume in the early 2000s. He was about 20 at the time at a campus social gathering dressed as Michael Jackson, which is something I'm gonna have to address. But first, let's hear from the experts.
In 2006, Lawler dressed as Michael Jackson for Halloween when he was in college with a visibly darkened face. He doesn't dispute the authenticity of the images, but said, quote, "The ugly practice of blackface was the furthest thing from my mind. For anyone who takes offense to the photo, I am sorry." This controversy hits Lawler's re-election campaign right as he is locked in that incredibly close race. And it's one of several, as you well know, Basil Smikle, in the state of New York. Lawler beat Sean Patrick Maloney by fewer than 2,000 votes in 2022. That's less than 1%. Can something like this, with 32 days to go, make a difference?
With Kamala Harris on the top of the ticket and Mondaire Jones, who's run a strong campaign, and hopefully he has an opportunity to hit hard on this particular issue, and I hope that there's an opportunity to raise some money off of this and say, look, this is why we need to get Mike Lawler out of this race. Because some people will say, you know, there wasn't an intention here, but let me talk about the intentionality of blackface. Somebody has gone out and bought makeup or polish and taken time to stroke their face with this makeup or polish, being careful to go around the eyes and around the ears and look themselves in the face and say, you know what, I'm happy and comfortable with the way that I look. There is nothing unintentional about that. My culture is not your costume.
I very much appreciate the point that he made about the intention. And I remember I had a difference of opinion with one of our other Black thought leaders about the effects of intention. But surely there are those that dress in blackface specifically with the intention of dehumanizing Black people. That's basically how blackface started, and shout out to Woodrow Wilson for normalizing that. But then you have a much larger subset of people that give absolutely no thought to the effect that it might have, or the fact that there are people who look like that who might feel a ways. And no, you don't get a pass on the impact, the ramifications, and the effect of your blackface because you just didn't imagine that it would affect other people. I wish that was a suitable excuse that I could give in a court of law. Yes, that is true. Yes, I did steal that Happy Meal, but I didn't think it would affect McDonald's. I mean, look how many Happy Meals they got.
I can't understand how we can say this over and over and over again, and there are no repercussions for this. There have been other people across the country, elected officials, the governor of Virginia, by the way, who has done this with no repercussions at all. And we have to get to a point.
Why?
Why? Because for some reason, they have had the ability to slide it on the rug and say, I'm sorry, it will never happen again. I was just honoring someone, or I was just making a joke, or I was just doing it, not thinking about the history of it. We've talked about the history. We've talked about where this comes from. But the problem is that there are a lot of folks around these individuals that just let it slide, don't call them on this. And there is this sort of en masse effort to push it under the rug because at the end of the day, you know, Black folks should just get over it.
Now, this is an excellent point that almost never gets brought up about the people around the blackface, because we always focus on the individual with the shoe polish, but never the person cheesing next to the individual with the shoe polish, never the person who hosted the party filled with people with the shoe polish. Because I can tell you right now, if I hosted a party and somebody came in dressed very on the nose as Mulan, why would you do that? Huh? Why would you do that? Huh? Cause now they gonna say that this the kind of party that I throw. And I'm definitely not taking a picture with you. And while we're on the topic, what's going on in New York? Huh? What's going on? New York, I love you. I have spent most of my adult life in New York City. Y'all haven't been the same since they took that Timberland boot down Broadway.
First day being back in New York, and it's a fucking giant Tim on the back of a truck.
Y'all got the subway flooding. You got the mayor indicted on charges.
Big breaking news tonight. For the first time in the history of New York City, a sitting mayor has been indicted for crimes. ABC News reporting that Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury.
New York is where that lady working for RFK said she was just there to help Trump. Then there was George Santos.
George Santos acknowledged to a New York radio host that he told a string of lies about his education and employment history.
And I'm not going to make excuses for this, but a lot of people overstate in their resumes or twist a little bit or ingratiate themselves. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of that.
In another interview with the New York Post, Santos admitted he did not have degrees from Baruch College and NYU, as he had claimed. I didn't graduate from any institution of higher learning. I'm embarrassed and sorry. We do stupid things in life. He also admitted he never worked directly for Goldman Sachs or Citigroup. Santos also addressed scrutiny around his claims of Jewish heritage. On his campaign website, in a section now removed, he recalled his grandparents fleeing Jewish persecution during World War II. I am Catholic, he told the Post, because I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background. I said I was Jew-ish.
And then George Santos again?
George Santos was mobbed by reporters as he was kicked out of Congress today.
You have anything to say to your
He stormed out even before the vote to expel him was officially confirmed, climbing into a waiting car, his final defiant declaration, to hell with this place.
And then George Santos again.
Former New York Congressman George Santos has pleaded guilty to 2 federal felony counts in a Long Island courtroom today. The expelled New York lawmaker appeared in court this afternoon. This is video of him walking into the federal courthouse where no cameras are allowed. He was facing 23 felony counts. He pleaded guilty today to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. The judge hearing the case estimated that Santos will face somewhere between 6 and 8 years in his sentencing later this year.
Now, in most states, 49 of them to be exact, George Santos would be the height of embarrassment and shame that you could offer us in the political arena. But not New York. George Santos ain't even the worst they got to offer. It's this one.
Dr. Gay, a Harvard student calling for the mass murder of African Americans is not protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech.
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech.
It's a yes or no question.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Now, I'm going to start screaming questions at these women like I'm Billy Eichner. Anti-Semitism, yay or nay?
How Elise Stefanik has come this far to October without me dragging her is insane. There isn't a single person on Capitol Hill who exudes more caring energy than Elise Stefanik. She got mad that nobody wanted to deal with her at her alma mater, Harvard, asked to speak to the manager to get the president fired, and then celebrated on social media. And while we're on the topic of things that I don't understand, why is there an epidemic of people dressing in blackface as Michael Jackson? Not Lamar Jackson, not Randy Jackson, but Michael Jackson. He should be the most melanin accessible black person that you could dress as. I know I could be young Mike. I know I could be teenage Mike. I know I could be adolescent Mike, in his 20s Mike. No. You have so many Mikes to choose from without needing the shoe polish, and you just had to go to young Mike. That's bad as going to blackface to dress up as Mariah Carey or Rachel Dolezal. I'm sorry, Nkechi Diallo. By the way, this is totally unrelated, but I have been wondering, you think Mark Robinson subscribed to Rachel Dolezal's OnlyFans? Huh? That wasn't me. I'm from Maryland. I was born in DC. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland. That was Virginia. I'm not taking that L. Talking about we did blackface. Yes, there isn't a single state that changes as much as the state of Virginia as you move around it. But it was them whose governor, Ralph Northam, said he also dressed up in blackface as Michael Jackson in a 1980s dance contest.
That same year, I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio, in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I look back now and regret that I did not understand the harmful legacy of an action like that.
This is actually much worse than it looks, because I'm not even going to show you who he was standing next to, but let's just say it was a lot of clear linens. It was a lot of clear linens next to him in this photo. Something that Woodrow Wilson would have been proud of. Virginia had it so bad, they had a whole racist blackface standoff. Like, yes, my opponent once used blackface. He clearly dehumanized black people. I bet you also did blackface. Yes, I also did blackface.
We begin this afternoon with breaking news out of Richmond. Another top Virginia Democrat admits to wearing blackface decades ago.
That was Attorney General Mark Herring, who also admitted to appearing in blackface at a 1980s party from his years at the University of Virginia. Virginia was a wild place. And you know what? That ain't even close. That's just scratching the surface of politicians in their love of blackface. There was Florida State Representative Anthony Sabatini, who dressed up as his best friend. Now, I don't know whether he's saying his best friend has a skin problem or he ran out of shoe polish. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. I'm also not sure if his best friend is African American or just dirty. That one is confusing here. There was Louisiana House candidate Robert Gaddy, who painted his face black and dressed like Tiger Woods for a church event. And the most confusing part of this is that he thought that Tiger Woods was an appropriate costume for a church event. I can tell you this, that is the closest that Tiger Woods has ever come to church, was that costume. Also, mind you, another person you don't need blackface for. There was South Carolina County Council candidate Brent Tomlinson, who dressed like a Jamaican bobsledder for a Halloween party. And I'll once again ask the question, is he black or is he just dirty? Like at this point, the blackface has just gotten lazy. Like you're not even using brown. Like what's going on? And also, why is it all over the other dude's chest and shirt? Like was that your palette that you used to put your blackface on as opposed to putting it directly on your face? You just put it all over the other dude's chest and just buried your face in his chest and his beard, apparently. There was Illinois State Senate candidate Hal Patton, who dressed up as a black football player. One thing fascinating about this, it's generic but racist at the same time. You couldn't just be a football player. You had to be a black football player. Okay, I got it. I got it. The white ones, that was too basic. Like you had to be, he was like, I want to be a football player, but I got to use this bandana. Like I have to. It was either black football player or Jack Sparrow. Not to be outdone, New York State Assemblyman Dov Hikind dressed like a black basketball player for a Jewish holiday. What is this? Huh? I need to know what this is. Is he playing in the Penal League? Like, what uniform and jersey is that? Oh, he's making a social statement that all the black basketball players are in jail. Okay, all right. Now I got it. There was former Florida Secretary of State Mike Ertl who posed as a Hurricane Katrina victim at a Halloween party. Now those regular viewers of the channel know me well enough to know that my favorite kind of racism are the ones where you can play multiple choice with what is most offensive. Is it the blackface or the fact that he dressed up as a Hurricane Katrina victim? Man, Mike Ertl is lucky I didn't have this channel at that time. You know what? I might have to start doing throwback racist of the week just so I can drag him retroactively. But this was the one. This was the one. The police department in Baton Rouge, Louisiana had to apologize after a yearbook photo showed two officers dressed in blackface as part of an undercover operation. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. No, it's not that I put it past the police. It's that it was for an undercover operation. Like they do years of training in order to blend in so they could go undercover. To do something as low rent as blackface with all the money that we spent. Like, it's not that I trust them too much to do it. I trust the money. We giving them too much money for them to be, huh? They got an actual report about it?
So it shouldn't surprise you that there is another example of people in blackface in the news today.
Oh, look at young Don Lemon.
CNN has obtained a 1993 police yearbook photo of two white Baton Rouge, Louisiana police officers dressed in blackface for an undercover field operation. You heard that right. Law enforcement officers dressed in blackface for an official police operation, with their pictures then proudly printed in a yearbook. The caption of the photo doesn't mention the nature of that operation. It just says, Soul Brothers, somehow making the whole thing even more bizarre. The current Baton Rouge police chief, in a statement, confirmed that the officers were working in an undercover capacity. The local newspaper, it's called The Advocate, first published the yearbook photo. And thanks to their reporting back in 1993, we have an article detailing exactly what happened. The article says officers were initially made up in blackface to conduct a sting operation. That operation targeted people in Baton Rouge attempting to buy drugs. One of the officers in blackface even boasted to the newspaper about his racist disguise. He said, not only do they not know we're cops, they don't even know we're white. And yes, there is no way anyone could have missed that these were, in fact, not black people. I mean, make no mistake, these cops were proud of what they did. That's why it is right there in that yearbook.
I wouldn't have believed it. I would not have believed it. Look, forget being offended. I want my money back. I want a refund. Huh? If I'm paying money into their coffers and that's where they're going to, I'm surprised they not just going to the party store and putting masks on to go undercover. Now, that story is exactly the kind of thing that I covered on this channel for years before I started making these daily videos. So I would like to present to you a younger, more innocent, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Reese Waters. Though I've explained this before and I hate having to do this explanation, you can check out my short for more information, but let's talk about blackface. All right, minstrel shows made money all over the country featuring performers in blackface, mocking black people for the amusement of white audiences. Blackface performers were mostly white actors wearing black makeup with exaggerated features like giant red lips and bugged out eyes depicting black people as lazy, stupid, cowardly, and hypersexual. Blackface began as a form of theater around the 1830s. By 1845, it was so popular that it spurred its own industry, which apparently is alive and well. See, this is what happened when you take an oversensitive hatchet job to history. This country's crazy, huh? They got it in Canada too?
There is no escaping this. No way to put Justin Trudeau's racist Aladdin costume back in the bottle. For several decades, Trudeau has managed to keep this quiet. All of it, another political crisis he created himself through his own actions, his own poor judgment.
Did Trudeau at least apologize?
I've taken responsibility for it, for having made a real mistake in the past. I stand here before Canadians, as I will throughout this campaign, and talk about the work we have to do to make a better country together. And I'm going to continue to stay focused on that and continue to work to fight intolerance and discrimination, even though, obviously, I made a mistake in the past.
Okay, well, I mean, that's unfortunate, but it sounds like he learned his... What? He did it again?
And now we know he's worn brown or blackface at least 2 other times. This was in 2001. He was 29 and a teacher at a private school in Vancouver. This is him in high school in Montreal. He wore blackface and sang the Harry Belafonte song, Deo.
I mean, what can he possibly say to this one?
There is that third video that came to light today, which has been submitted to Global News. It's the third incident. It is the fourth image, one could say, and there it is there. So we're waiting to see. We haven't heard Justin Trudeau address this video. It's only 4 seconds in length, given exclusively to Global News, and the Liberals have acknowledged that it is him in that video. So we'll wait and see what he has to say about that.
Prime Minister, going back to the video that was obtained by Global News, you mentioned last week that it was during a rafting, during your time at the Whitewater rafting expedition, and it was a costume day. What exactly was that costume?
I am continuing to be open with Canadians about the mistake I made. This is something that I take responsibility for. This is something that I should have known better, but didn't. And I will continue to work every day to fight racism, to fight discrimination, to fight intolerance in this country.
With all due respect, Prime Minister, that wasn't even close to answering the question. What was that costume?
I have been open with Canadians. I will continue to be open with Canadians. I will continue to fight racism and intolerance every day. I take responsibility for the terrible mistakes I made in the past and commit to continue to fight against racism and intolerance every day.
Wow. Wow. No accountability. He out here dodging like Laura Trump. Canadians, they're just like us. If you want to be real, I actually don't have as big a problem with people putting on blackface as long as you keep it for a suitable amount of time. Yeah, we're not doing the 1 and 2 hours. No, we're doing the 1 and 2 weeks. No, not just, you don't just get the black experience at the party. No, why don't you go ahead and have the black experience going home for the party? Why don't you have the black experience going in and trying to get that home loan, or that black experience where you going and talking to your boss and getting your annual review? That is a black experience that I feel like could bring us all closer together. I wore blackface for 6 days and I got arrested 3 times. We told you about that. We told you about that. Today's first nominee, MAGA. Have they broken the record yet? Are they the all-time? I think they have the most now at this point. So you guys remember all that business in Springfield, Ohio, that MAGA and JD Vance and Trump just want to slide into the bushes and act like it never even happened. Specifically, when JD Vance was talking to Dana Bash and he said, well, why don't you talk to the people on the ground and actually present some of the cases that my constituents have been talking about, even though I can't present a single one?
He just said Haitians are eating dogs and cats. Can you affirmatively say now that that is a rumor that has no basis with evidence?
Dana, the evidence is the first-hand account of my constituents who are telling me that this happened. And by the way, I've been trying to talk about the problems in Springfield for months, and the American media ignored it. There was a congressional hearing just last week of angel moms who lost children because Kamala Harris let criminal migrants into this country who then murdered their children. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to,
But it wasn't just a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast. You had one interview with her. You talk about pushing back against me, Dana. You didn't push back against the fact that she cast the deciding vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which is why a lot of Americans can't afford food and housing.
You just said
We
that
ought
you're
to be
creating
talking
a
about
story.
public policy.
Sir, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you
Yes.
created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it. I didn't create 20,000 illegal migrants coming into Springfield thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. Her policies did that, but yes, we created the actual focus that allowed the American media to talk about this story and the suffering caused by Kamala Harris's policies.
Well, you know what, JD Vance? I got you. I present to you your Haitian. This is Brian Comer of Springfield, Ohio, who was just issued a citation for shooting 2 geese at a golf course, according to Clark County Municipal Court filings. A witness told an officer ahead of Comer's citation that he saw a white male in his late 50s or early 60s riding a lawnmower before getting off and shooting 2 geese with a shotgun. Comer was said to be cooperative and admitted to shooting the 2 geese, according to the filings. He told an officer with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources he believed he was entitled to shoot them. Oh, entitlement. Apparently because the golf course had a nuisance permit. The officer then issued him a citation. He pleaded guilty at his arraignment, and the citation, of course, was issued as Trump and Vance spread the false claim that Haitian immigrants were stealing and eating residents' pets in Springfield. Trump went on to claim that migrants are walking off with the geese in the town. Now, I debunked all of the evidence that they had used. I talk about the now deleted Facebook post involving a cat named Sassy that even the woman in question said was misrepresented. And of course, there was this photo, one that was widely circulated, the viral picture of a man holding 2 geese on an Ohio street being used to fuel claims that migrants have been gobbling up pets, being nothing more than a wild goose chase. Now, some of the subscribers here on this channel, who I think are the absolute best, they're always on top of everything. The first time that I even acknowledged or addressed this piece of evidence that had been used by MAGA, some of my subscribers correctly put in the chat during the premiere of that video that that man was actually removing those geese from the street. He was actually trying to do a civic deed, and that is in fact correct. That man was carrying the bodies of 2 birds, was removing them from the street after they were hit by a car. This was confirmed to TMZ by the Ohio Division of Wildlife. There's no evidence he was taking them home to eat or that he's even a migrant. So this man is not a migrant. He wasn't in the right part of the state. He was actually doing a good deed. And they say no good deed goes unpunished because, my goodness, the man in the photo is actually unnamed because he doesn't want to identify himself, because he knows how MAGA would react if he would go on record and clarify that he was actually doing a good deed for the state. Just think about that. The man actually was doing a good deed for his neighbors. He has to remain anonymous because of how y'all would react for having your racist theory debunked, as it should have been a long time ago. This is absolutely wild. This is, of course, before the campaign moved on to lying about the storms and all the resources that are available. This campaign has given us an attack on childless Americans. It gave us black jobs. It gave us She Became Black. It gave us the horrific debate performance. It gave us the racist projection in Springfield, Mark Robinson, and now lies about the storm. How is it that this man, he gets to lose the election every week? We just pressed the reset button and he gets to do something this week to lose the election. You know what? I'm gonna save it. Cause that's gonna be a whole video. Troubled waters coming soon. Just you wait. Congratulations, MAGA, and also special shout out to you, Brian Comer, for being a part of this. Yes, you are our first nominee as Racist of the Week. Our second nominee, Portland, Oregon. This is like a Reese Waters, this is your life. I got a parent from Portland. I got a parent from North Carolina. Lord knows I've been on Mark Robinson and North Carolina's neck. I got a parent from South Carolina. And of course, I've been talking about Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott and Nancy Mace. I just hollered at my mother about that. I just hollered about Ohio, which is where my wife is from. Ain't nowhere. Hey, Maryland. Y'all better act right. I don't want to hear nothing out of you. Shout out to the Atlanta Black Star that gave us this particular story out of Portland, Oregon. David Douglas High School football team in Portland has competed in 3 away games against rival high schools in Oregon so far this season. And each game brought a deplorable barrage of racial hate speech and behavior. According to the coaches, black players have been subjected to monkey sounds, chants of the N-word, and being called King Kong. Quote, I've coached and played all around the nation and also have played or coached internationally. Never have I witnessed this level of racism on the playing field. That was according to assistant coach Marcel Frazier on Instagram. That is wild. He didn't just include Oregon. He said the whole country. And also internationally. So I guess Oregon, you have that to feel proud of. You're number one. I wonder if the Ducks are going to use that in recruiting. Certainly the rest of the Big Ten should. The Black Star continues. In the most recent bizarre incident, a cake was thrown into an audience of Douglas fans to create chaos during a game against Adrian Nelson High School in Happy Valley. Quote, we had a cake thrown in the stands at players' parents, as well as monkey sounds being chanted at a coach. Wow, how high school has changed. See, this is what happens. We always talking about empowering police. What about empowering coaches and school administrators? Because back in my day, if you would have made monkey sounds at a coach, that would have been your last day. And no, I don't mean your last day at the school. I don't mean your last day on the team. I mean your last day. Quote, based on where the cake was thrown, we believe the students were not targeting a specific person or individual, but were trying to create chaos amongst the David Douglas fan base, which is inexcusable. Now that's interesting. So they just threw a cake thinking that the fans would riot because they have some interesting stereotypes in Oregon. You know what I mean? Because I would have thought if you wanted to throw something at black people to be racist and create, I would have thought it'd have been a leg. You know what I mean? I thought it'd been a leg or a thigh. They throwing cake. Is that what y'all think? Just black people love cake? I do like cake. I can tell you that. I do like cake. Well, that is huh? There's more? Okay. During a game against Forest Grove High School on the edge of the Portland metro area, an unidentified man drove up to the team's bus after the game and made 8 sounds and gestures before driving off. Local police are currently investigating the incident and working to track down the culprit. Well, the good news is that he was in a vehicle which you can track. Now, of course, he definitely wouldn't have done that if he wasn't in a vehicle. So I guess that is the thing that allowed that particular incident to occur in the first place. Huh? There's more? Okay, it continues. The racist attacks continued at an away game at Rex Putnam, an international baccalaureate high school. Okay, so we get some international racism here. Frazier recounted how racial slurs brought a player to tears. The game came to a stop as he sought out his coach to report it. Frazier asked him, "What's going on, man?" And he says to me in tears, "They're calling me the N-word, coach." Now, this actually kind of reminds me of a video we did about the girls in Denver. Of course, these are not young children. These are older children. This is a high school. But the kinds of attacks that young people are expected to endure, because this is somebody who was dealing with this during a game and presumably was tasked with keeping his head in the game. He just had to swallow that as part of his experience, which I guess if you're an adult, you can argue that that is part of the experience of growing up black. But we are supposed to be doing better than that. Well, how exactly are they doing in Oregon? Let's see. After the game was halted, Rex Putnam's athletic director was informed of the incident, but no one was pulled from the field. Adrian C. Nelson's principal, Greg Harris, confirmed that a similar incident happened at his school. A David Douglas athlete reported hearing the N-word used on the field. The game was paused, with officials addressing coaches and coaches then addressing players, but the officials were unable to determine where the language originated. Okay, so if I got this straight, when we knew where the language originated, the game was paused and no one was removed from the field. When it happened later on against a different team, we couldn't determine where the language originated. So that was the excuse you gave for continuing the game and nobody being removed from the field. By virtue of everything that I just read, clearly this is something that has been normalized. So how about everybody removed from the field? How about that? Huh? How about that? If you are supposed to be tasked with educating our youth and teaching them what is and is not acceptable, how about everybody? That'd be a way to stamp that out, you think? Oh, well, we don't know. You know, somebody would throw in their voice. Somebody was throwing their voice. We think that came. It was a groundhog. It was a groundhog. A groundhog came out at the 45-yard line, right at midfield, and just yelled ends. And then the sound ricocheted off of the bleachers, because we have these bleachers that amplify sound. So the sound ricocheted off the bleachers, and it made it seem like it came from the team, but it wasn't us. The Oregon School Activities Association and all three high schools have issued lengthy public statements condemning racism. But for Coach Frazier, it's just not enough. And by virtue of the fact that those games continued, I would support Coach Frazier. What good is your statement condemning racism if you just shrug your shoulders and go back to the game when it happens? Quote, "If this is the cesspool that the region has become, there's no way I would feel comfortable raising my future children here. It's a shame. Our boys and coaches should be focused on the game without being subjected to racist abuse." That was on Instagram. The captain of the Forest Grove football team popped up in the comments, apologizing on behalf of his fellow students and players before saying, "I'm sorry for not doing a better job." And shout out to the captain of the Forest Grove football team, who is apparently more of an adult than any of the coaches, administrators, or principals of the schools in question, who couldn't even go that far. According to the U.S. News and World Report rankings, 69% of David Douglas's student body identifies as minorities, and 73% of students are economically disadvantaged. Coach Frazier noted how racist bullying exacerbates their vulnerability. Quote, "Our kids are already facing enough. Just showing up to a school is a freaking battle. Just finding food to eat when they're going home is a freaking battle. And then you go out and you see them get subjected to racism and abuse, and you see the tears in their eyes, and it just, it breaks your heart as an adult." Frazier is advocating for a change in the OSAA's bylaws regarding hate speech and is prepared to take it up the chain of command if necessary. In early October, he returned to Instagram to post House Bill 3409, tagging OSAA Sports. He wrote, "Please follow this state bill that your executive director, Peter Weber, testified in support of. If this is not upheld, I'll fight like hell alongside state legislatures to add much more teeth to this bill and hold offending schools accountable." The bill was signed into law in 2019 in response to years of racist and discriminatory behavior at school events throughout Oregon and is designed to hold the districts accountable. So if I got this straight, back in 2019, there was so much racist and discriminatory abuse going on that you had to get a bill signed into law in order to protect black children in schools. And now, because you won't enforce it, it has to be updated. Yeah, I don't hear about none of that in the Oregon commercials. I don't, not the Visit Oregons. The Visit Oregon don't mention that, and neither does the Oregon Ducks recruiting stuff. I don't see none of this. They should do a better job of communicating exactly what the situation is like on the ground. And if they don't, that's what I'm here for. So congratulations to you, Portland, Oregon, and apparently the state. Congratulations to the state of Oregon. You hear that? See, now that's what needs to happen with this kind of behavior. That's exactly what needs to happen. Congratulations to you, Portland, Oregon. You are our second nominee for Racist of the Week. And Maryland, you better act right. Now, I like to end my Racist on the Week on a positive note whenever possible, and this happened across my desk. You might remember a couple weeks ago, I highlighted Texas Judge David Fleischer, one of the people that is working to undo the kind of discrimination that I just outlined.
Zion Abiola. Mr. Abiola, you're charged with 2 cases. You're charged with evading arrest. You're also charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon. On both of those cases, you're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you, sir.
Judge, on May 30th, 2024, officers observed 2 black males walking out of Bedford Place Homeowner Association Park, which is closed after sunset. Officers made contact with the defendant and another male who advised they did not know the park was closed. Defendant kept reaching near his waistband and pocket. Officers attempted to conduct a Terry frisk on the defendant, resulting in the defendant running. Foot pursuit lasted approximately 25 to 30 yards. While running, a black handgun fell from the defendant's waist area. Defendant stated the gun belonged to his mother. Officers recovered a Glock 23, loaded with 1 bullet in the chamber and 7 in the magazine. 15 additional bullets were found inside defendant's book bag, and an extra magazine containing 18 bullets, a total of 41 bullets. Defendant's father arrived on scene and stated the defendant's mother is the one who purchased the weapon for the defendant. Defendant is 19 years of age. He has 2023 unlawful carrying of a weapon non-suit as a juvenile, no out-of-county criminal record.
Here's the rub. What's he doing? Walking while black? What's he doing? What's he doing wrong? Was he under arrest? I mean, all I see is that they go up to him and they just start searching, right?
I believe.
Walking while black. Mr. Abiola, I'd be very careful. You know, where you go, what you do may not end up well for you. I'm going to find no probable cause on this case now.
Thank you,
Mr. Abiola, be careful. Just take a seat for me in the back, please. Don't leave. I found no probable cause. Guys, keep it down, please. I found no probable cause. Your cases have been dismissed. The only thing I'm going to counsel you is to be careful. Don't go to parks after hours. Otherwise, they're just going to harass you. You understand? Okay, good luck, man. You're free to go.
Well, you know what? He's back at it.
Mr. Blake, you're charged with possession of marijuana. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent.
Defendant crossed an authorized crossing point from convenience store to apartment complex.
Wait, he did what?
He crossed an unauthorized crossing point, so I guess he crossed the street.
Is he jaywalking?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Walking while black.
A PC search was conducted, and the officer observed a large sack of marijuana.
I don't think so. He's walking while black. I don't think so. I'm gonna find no probable cause.
Yes,
Mr. Blake, be careful, man. You know, the world is against you. Don't let him be. Do something with your life. You know what I mean? The more you just, come on, man. All right, I'm gonna have you just take a seat back, all right? Hang tight.
There's a question. First of all, shout out to the judge for saying what needed to be said in that particular moment. But if we have a first instance of trumping up charges for walking while black, and they try it again, it seems that there is a systemic problem with scooping up citizens for walking while black. Why is that not something that's more punitive for the officers on the ground that are repeatedly bringing people in for walking while black? Shout out to the judge, and I see why more judges don't do this, because people would start asking questions like this, but I'm gonna need to holler at some officers. Yeah. What y'all got going on? Today's nominee, Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump's racism is well documented.
Would you rather have the black president or the white president who got 1.7 billion off the price? I think they want the white guy. You know what look at my African American over here. Look at him.
Here's what bothers me about that. So let's say you have a liberal city, let's Los Angeles, San Diego, and they just decide we're going to get rid of that history. We got new history. This is America built off the backs of slaves on stolen land. And that curriculum comes in.
Then we don't send them money.
Oh, you know what? My bad. That last one was new. That was not an old clip. What exactly was the problem? You saying we not gonna let them teach history how it actually happened? Now, you guys, one of the things I say all the time is my favorite kind of racism is where you can go multiple choice on what exactly was the most offensive thing. In the case of Donald Trump, last time I was here, I believe 4 different times I went on a run of various offensive things he's done and said to disparage black people without a single moment being mentioned multiple times. And guess what? I didn't hit any of those. So this would be number 5. Only MAGA in 2024 can I go on 5 runs of racism with all new material for the man you've presented as our presidential nominee. Now, Donald Trump decided to go on the Patrick Bet David podcast, which I frankly was surprised at because they seem intent to try and hide him from now until the election. They've been canceling events left and right. And when he does show up to events, he has to be protected in such a way that he has to travel with his own contingent in order to pack the crowd.
The audience was stacked with Trump supporters. Now, Fox presented this town hall as just an all-women's town hall, general voters. Never in their press release did they say who was going to be sitting in the audience. But in reality, the room was not only full of Trump supporters, people who are voting for Trump, but also people who are officially part of Republicans' women's organization. In fact, the first person who asked a question, she presented herself as Lisa from Milton, Georgia. She's actually Lisa, president of the Fulton County Republican Women's Group. So she is essentially almost a Republican official. There was also, we saw people come up, wearing Trump pins. There was somebody who had an RNC delegate hat. But I think the most egregious thing that happened in this town hall was that in one of the questions by a woman named Alicia, in the middle of her question, she said the following: "I voted for you this morning. I hope they counted it," something along those lines. but Fox edited out those handful of words in her question. So in the broadcast, when all you saw was her asking a question. She did make a joke about how the opposition probably sees the room being full of domestic terrorists. But those handful of words in the middle of the question that took maybe all of, 5 seconds to say, those were selectively edited out. Why did Fox News do that? We asked them. They have not said anything back. Fox also edited out moments where the entire crowd broke out into chants of Trump, Trump, Trump.
But one thing that even your own supporters can't protect you from are your posts on social media, because we still get the wild stuff on Truth Social. And by the way, Trump, just don't say nice way or the hard way. Not with the 30. Just don't. Yeah, we need to get that taken down. And you know what? Somebody is eventually going to have to get his phone, because he going to mess around and hit up Stormy Daniels.
Well, now we have just learned, we have reported out 20 days. Here it is, 20 days before this election. We can report that he is once again trying to pay Stormy Daniels to be quiet ahead of this next election.
What we're going to say in the future, that's no way. No, I can't let you do that. So he's like, okay, I got to get back with him, So they want to cut some kind of deal where they silence you.
Don't they know that won't work?
It's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen.
Just so you understand the level of which MAGA is carrying Donald Trump, they're out here giving him credit for the market while Biden is president.
Look at this market. The Dow scoring the 38th record close yesterday, now sitting at 43,077. What's your take in terms of allocating money right now? Well, what do you want to do before the election?
If you believe Trump will win, then you stay with financials and you stay with small caps. If Trump does not win, think about higher taxes and think about an even slower economy, because a lot of this stuff is not stimulative. It's going to slow things down even more regulations, less stimulus. So, it's really, you've got to make a decision on who you expect to win. And I think that lead in, yesterday's performance was really about some swing in the polls.
Yeah. Do you think investors are focused on this election and making bets around it?
Massively focused on the election.
And you think they think Trump will win?
I think right now that is the bet, yeah.
And that's why we're talking about record highs.
Exactly. Yeah. Because less regulation, more stimulus. Look, you can argue about tariffs a zillion different ways, but people expect that that's going to help America be more competitive.
Mark, you agree with that?
Without a doubt, yeah. And when you look at just the performance of Trump favored sectors. You look at energy, less regulation has done very well. You look at financials, have done very well, less regulation. Consumer discretionary, strong consumer has done well. Crypto has done well. And Stanley Druckenmiller, I believe it was yesterday, said that the market right now is pricing in a Trump victory based on the performance of bank stocks and crypto.
Yes, in that Great Depression style crash that Donald Trump said was coming. That's no longer... That's not coming? Okay. All right. Cool. I'd love to see what they said that day. Now, there are many possible videos that I could have played for you right now just to properly showcase the degree of cognitive dissonance, the degree that they're willing to lie to you. But none are better than Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin when he decided he was going to tell Jake Tapper that Donald Trump's words were not Donald Trump's words.
You heard some of the language that Mr. Trump used over the weekend. What do you think of this idea of, quote, we have some sick people, radical left lunatics, and I think it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, the National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. Is that something that you support?
Jake, first of all, thank you for having me. And I guess what I want to just make very clear is that it's my belief that what former President Trump is talking about are the people that are coming over the border, that in fact are committing crimes, that are bringing drugs, that are trafficking humans, and that are turning every state into a border state. And I'm a governor of a state that is not near the southern border, and yet I see the impacts of 10 million people illegally coming across the border every single day. 5 Virginians die on average from fentanyl overdose. We have folks that have crashed, the illegal immigrants that have crashed the front gate at Quantico in a box truck.
But that's not what I'm talking about, because he was talking about sick people, radical left lunatics who should be handled by the National Guard or the military. And then later on in that same speech, he said that one of the lunatics he addressed was Congressman Adam Schiff. That's who he was talking about using the National Guard and military against, radical left lunatics, enemy from within, people like Adam Schiff.
Again, Jake, I don't think that and again, I can't.
I'm just reading
I can't
his
speak
quotes.
for him, but I do think that you are misinterpreting and misrepresenting his thoughts. But
I'm literally reading his quotes. I'm literally reading his quotes to you, and I played them earlier so you could hear that they were not made up by me. He's literally talking about, quote, radical left lunatics, and then one of those lunatics he addressed, he mentioned, was Congressman Adam Schiff.
I wonder what Glenn Youngkin's internal monologue was like. Like, he didn't say that, did he? Did he say that? I can't believe he said that. No, he didn't say that. I think he might have said that. No, he didn't say that. Well, I can't say he said it. Did he say that? He said that? Oh. And if you're wondering, VP Kamala Harris can handle hecklers just fine.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
So Donald Trump loose on a podcast after Kamala Harris just laid fire to Fox News? This should be good.
Really like me. And I think black women do too. But they have a woman who is black, although you would say she's Indian, but she is black. But she really, a lot of people didn't know, which is true. But
I learned about it just a couple months ago. You know, the fact
that she's black,
yeah.
Or that she's Indian.
The fact that she's black, I thought she was Indian until a couple months ago. Things changed. I mean,
a lot of people. Well,
because if you follow baseball, Sammy Sosa kind of, you sometimes have to respect people. They change, right? So I thought maybe she was doing a Sammy Sosa the other way.
Yeah, Sammy's changed.
Right.
People change.
If you remember Sammy Sosa.
He could hit the ball.
He could hit the ball, 66 home runs.
Seriously.
Yes.
Ah, yes, all those Indian Harrises that we see floating around America. And for you non-sports fans, by the way, this is Sammy Sosa. So he's saying that black men and black women really like him, but they have a black woman. And by virtue of the reason why he's turning the conversation here in his mind is, well, they're going to vote for the black woman, which, by the way, takes you into Donald Trump's head. This is something that I've explained before. The reason of his obsession with her ethnicity is because he can't imagine black people doing anything other than voting for Kamala Harris because she's black, which totally obscures the fact that they voted for Joe Biden and they voted for Bill Clinton and they voted for Jimmy Carter. I mean, there's ample evidence to dispute this, but so much information can fit in his brain. So obviously that got knocked out. Obviously, this is also his second, third, fourth at bat with this Kamala birtherism whole thing, which speaks to the fact that only but so much information can fit in his brain. I think he kind of forgot that he didn't run this play before, and so he just decided he's going to run it up the flagpole one more time. He's like, have I tried birtherism? Because no, I don't think I've tried birtherism yet. That's crazy. How did I get to here and I didn't try birtherism? That's normally like the first thing I try. Yeah, Trump, it was the first thing you tried. And the third and the fifth and the last. I also want to send a shout out to Patrick Bet-David because it takes somebody on Trump's level of ignorance in order to bring his ignorance out. You know what I mean? Like that would have been just a moment and he would have went on to something else. But you talking about Sammy Sosa and this, that, and the other thing, which allowed Trump to expound a little bit more. So I appreciated that. If you would have been like slightly more sophisticated, like approaching a normal, like average level of sophistication, we wouldn't have gotten that video. So I appreciate him for that. I also would like to re-raise one of the things that I mentioned when we first started having this conversation. Is something that I feel like should be center to whenever we have these kinds of conversations, is the level of entitlement that it takes for you to make an issue of how somebody else identifies racially. Like I can mention Howard, I could mention Divine Nine, I could mention her relationships with the Congressional Black Caucus, all that. I don't need to. It is the entitlement for you to challenge how somebody else identifies. Because for you to say, I didn't even know that, I just learned that, is totally fine. Everybody isn't a Kamala Harris aficionado, Patrick Bet-David. But then when you start talking about Sammy Sosa, now you are making an issue of how she's identifying because of how you see things, when by your own admission, you were dealing with limited information. Just go with the fact that you had limited information and go about your business before you keep talking and you say something ignorant. You chose not to. But I don't want to get down on you too much because you continued to give us more Donald Trump racism. So shout out to you for that. And how Donald Trump gonna be out here talking about somebody else turned black when he out here looking like Colonial Maple? You know, people talking about Colonial Maple. I thought maybe he might have been doing a Sedona Red or a Chestnut, but at the end of the day, I thought Colonial Maple. He went in and asked for Colonial Maple on his face, and he wanted to talk about somebody else turned black. Wild.
I kind of want to get your reaction on this talk that is given. Rob, if you can put that up.
And the reason some people think, well, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good, because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. So just in case everybody has a hazy memory, he didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts.
So how do you feel about this when you see him saying this last week?
I think he's angry. He pretends not to be, but I think he's an angry guy. He's a nasty guy. He's got a little bit of an edge, and he's angry about a lot of things.
Oh, okay. Obama is an angry guy and a nasty guy. Let's go through some of the clips and content that we've seen from Obama after he left the Oval Office. Now let's look at how Trump has spent his time since leaving the office. I swear, everything out of their mouth is projection. It is. They don't know how to do anything but project. I guess Trump can't imagine anybody actually leaving and not being an angry. He's like, well, I left and I was angry. Of course, I was angry when I was in the Oval Office. I was angry before I was in there. I'm angry all the time. So, of course, everybody else is.
I think he's angry. He pretends not to be, but I think he's an angry guy. He's a nasty guy. He's got a little bit of an edge, and he's angry about a lot of things. You look at what happened with Biden, and you look at what he did with Biden. He really hurt Biden because I'm not sure he wouldn't have imploded anyway. We had the debate, and he was down quite a bit, and they walked out, and they just took it away from him. I mean, if you think about it, they stole the election from a sitting president. That's, I always say coup, but the word coup, I don't think it's accurate enough. They just walked in and took it away from him. That is a legendary thing. He didn't want to give up. He's angry now. They're all angry, the Democrats, if you think. She's angry. They're both angry.
Okay, so as I just said, there's nothing that ever comes out of their mouth that isn't projection. So he's talking about Obama being angry and then talking about Joe Biden. Sounds like somebody still hasn't gotten over that they're not running against Joe Biden. Tell me you angry without telling me you angry. I mean, of the last 1,000 times that somebody has mentioned Kamala Harris taking over the nomination from Joe Biden, the last 1,000 times that's been mentioned in public, 998 of them have been from Donald Trump. Ain't nobody talking about that, but he can. 998 of them have been from Donald Trump. The other two, I'm guessing, is probably from Kamala Harris's kids, mad that they can't act up right now. Because I would be.
No, I watched that last week, and I think he spoke down to black men. I thought it was terrible the way he spoke to them.
He spoke down to black men. Ooh. So can only black men speak down to black men? Is that what I'm gathering? Like, are white men capable of speaking down to black men? Because the only way that I can process that you think somebody else spoke down to black men is that white men are not, it's not possible for them to speak down to black men. That's just how black men deserve to be addressed, apparently.
You think it's effective? You think he still carries the same stick as he did, maybe 8 years ago or 12 years ago?
No, I don't think he does. No, I don't think he does. I think people have gotten smart.
You know what I really wanted the conversation I really wanted to have is Donald Trump and Patrick Bet-David discussing how black people receive Obama. That is the conversation that's what I really wanted to know. I wanted those two guys specifically to be able to tell me how I should receive Obama, because he's talking down to black men.
And no, I don't believe he does at all. I hadn't seen him. He's changed a lot. Visually, he's changed. I like to say visually as opposed to from the look standpoint, because, of course, looks don't matter anymore in politics. You say looks don't matter. It doesn't make any difference, right? Because we want to be politically correct, but they do matter. But he's changed. His look has changed actually quite a bit. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Okay, so now that we have established that you are not capable of talking down to black men, any more bullets in the gun?
That's a big thing. They've been trying to get it. I saw a guy named Van Jones. He's I don't think anybody knows who he is. He's a commentator for CNN.
Oh, Van Jones. Oh, bro.
I don't think anybody knows who he is. He's a commentator for CNN. And he came to see me in the White House, and he was crying.
I remember that.
He was crying because I bring these things up because it's a lack of, I don't know, there's something about loyalty. You help somebody with something. He came in with a fairly large group of people, mostly black people, and he was devastated because criminal justice reform wasn't going to happen. Obama didn't do it, and didn't even come close. Bush didn't try. Nobody was going to do it. And I'm the only one that could have done it.
Okay, let's be accurate about this. Trademark Abby Phillip. Let's be accurate about this. Criminal justice reform is something that Trump likes to beat his chest about, and certainly all of the black MAGAs and certainly the black conservatives love to beat their chest about. The reality is that criminal justice reform had been coming for a long time. It's something that Congress was actually working on, and it was something they were unwilling to pass during Obama's administration. Oh yeah, you remember all of that log jam when they refused to go along with any of his agenda, when they had a temper tantrum over having to deal with the first black president? 'Cause I do. Yeah, so let's stop with the Trump came in by himself and wanted to make, no, we're not doing that.
Obama didn't do it, and didn't even come close. Bush didn't try. Nobody was going to do it. And I'm the only one that could have done it. And he was with a group of people that they were begging to do it. They were 5 votes short.
He said y'all were begging. He said Van Jones came in crying with a group of mostly black people, and they came in begging. It sounds like a scene out of Huck Finn that he describing right. And to me, it sounds like a scene out of, Mark Twain could have wrote that. It sounds like a scene out of Huck Finn. Like, were they barefoot too? It kind of reminds me of the way that he characterizes HBCUs trying to get the funding back that was taken out and zeroed out of the budget. It kind of reminds me of HBCUs going to try and get their funding back. The way that he characterizes the way that they came to him, it's begging. I think he used the word begging there as well. But yeah, Obama be talking down to black people though. I remember Van Jones came in barefoot with a couple of pies, and he cried into the pies, and it was a magical tear. And I said, well, aren't you a special need?
And they had to be conservative votes because there was nobody else left, right? And I guess you needed the 61 or 60 something, maybe 66, but 61 is a hard vote. And he made a plea to me, Van Jones, total sleazebag. He made a plea to me to help him and help this group of people.
Wait. What'd you call him, Trump? What'd you call him?
And he made a plea to me, Van Jones, total sleazebag.
You could have made your point. Hey, Van, I hope you're proud of your work. Yeah, that's all I got to say. I hope you're proud of your work. Well done there. I haven't heard sleazebag since my childhood. Yeah, that might be the one good thing from this interview. We need to bring sleazebag back. All right, now that we have officially made your stance on race clear, Donald Trump, you got anything else you want to say that would put off anybody remotely on the fence?
I think Zelensky's one of the greatest salesmen I've ever seen. Every time he comes in, we give him $100 billion. Who else got that kind of money in history? There's never been. And that doesn't mean I don't want to help him, because I feel very badly for those people. But he should never have let that war start. That war's a loser. Ukraine, remember, is not Ukraine anymore. Every city almost is knocked down to the ground. All those beautiful golden domes are laying on their side, smashed to smithereens. There's no city. You go into the city and every building is demolished. It looks like a demolition crew went through. They've been hit by missiles. This should have been settled before it started. It would have been so easy. If we had a president with half a brain, it would have been easy to settle. And I'm not, everyone will say, oh, this is terrible. He's blaming Biden. Well, I do largely blame Biden. If you watch his words were the exact opposite of what he should have been saying. He instigated that war.
Very solid, very solid. Let's go ahead and fluff Putin on the way out, just in case you weren't entirely sure on where he stood. Now, in the aftermath of that, I need to holler at all of my black conservatives and my black MAGAs. This your mans? Huh? This your mans? And I've called a number of you guys out by name. Why don't we bring somebody else into the crew? I feel like dragging somebody new. Hey, Charles Payne. Hey, come on down.
It's insulting. It is so insulting. If a white politician did this, I think we'd all be up in arms. This is so insulting to black men, black people, and how far we've come as a nation overall. This has been an embarrassment. Just total embarrassment.
Offensive is exactly right. That is everything that I just saw. Oh, he was talking about Kamala? He was talking about Kamala? How? Today's first nominee, these Sarasota, Florida men. One of whom apparently is named Steve. An 18-year-old black teen recorded a group of white men following and harassing him after Hurricane Milton at high-end development Sky Ranch in Sarasota, Florida. Whitney Portella, the teen's mother, posted the video showing her 18-year-old son walking in the development. Quote, The morning aftermath of Hurricane Milton, my son wanted to walk the neighborhood to talk to his girlfriend on his phone because we didn't have power, so his service was bad in the house. This is what he had to deal with. Even after telling these men he lives here, they were not satisfied with his answer and continued to harass him. Portello wrote this on her Facebook post along with the video she posted on October 15th. Now, I want to go to the video, but before we do, I just have to highlight the level of your commitment to racism and discrimination to be taking time out of your hurricane recovery for harassment. Like you just got hit with a hurricane. The whole state, not just you, just got hit with a hurricane and you take time out of your recovery to be racist. That is the level of commitment that we're dealing with here.
What's going on, buddy?
Nigga, that brother. She ain't my help.
Obviously, he doesn't live here. The reason why I asked you to live here is a private community, so if you don't live here, you need to leave. If you live here, you're visiting a friend, that's fine, just let us know, because you're getting neighbors concerned since you're walking around my house. I'm not walking around your house. Hold on, see, you've been past my house 4 times, I don't know you, I've never seen you here before, and you're walking past my house over and over again. So if you live here or you have a friend you're visiting here, that's fine.
I'm not in front of your house. You're actually following me.
All right, I wanted to let the video play out, but I just had to stop us right here. So if your legitimate concern was the safety of your house, how would that be affected when you see other people are following this man? So you need a whole team to protect the sanctity of your house, right? Because you said that he kept walking by your house, but you see other people following him. That doesn't throw you off the something is wrong scent when you see other people follow him? You have to go put your gear on and join in? Make that make sense. I also would like to highlight the fact that as a black man, I find myself in this situation often where the path of least resistance is to just tell them what they want to know so that they can be on their way. But that empowers them to demand this kind of information and these kinds of qualifications from us wherever we happen to be. That is how microaggressions become actual real life aggressions, which you see right here.
Wait a minute, why would I want to live in Florida? Black people's votes go right in the garbage. All right, we're moving to Florida.
So in this situation, yeah, he could probably just explain to them what the situation is and that he lives here. But the reality is you don't treat anybody else like that. And that would tell you that this behavior is okay. So the next time me or anybody else happens to just want to walk the neighborhood and talk to their girlfriend, you feel fully within your rights to demand these kinds of qualifications for my existence.
We're just asking a question. You live out here?
I'm part of the neighborhood.
You're part of the neighborhood? Does that mean you live here? It's simple.
Like, bro, what?
I'm asking a question. You live here? You went up to my wife.
But I didn't go up to your wife, bro.
Now, granted, I don't have full surveillance footage of the last 24 hours of this kid's life, so I can't declare with any real certainty that he did not go up to your wife. What I can say is that if he in fact did go up to your wife, it seems like you got some people on the case. So I don't know why you felt like the 10 speed and the flip-flops and the lime green shirt were needed. I don't understand your behavior, and the behavior of everybody else, including his behavior, does not lend itself to that's a real thing that happened.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Right. And I think I can walk around my neighborhood.
You live here, yeah. You live here.
Like,
You live here.
you gonna keep asking me the same question over and over and over and over and over. This man's following me. This is harassment, right?
I haven't answered yet.
That's harassment, right? That's harassment, right?
I think what you did to my wife, yes.
Look. He following you. You read it up. The level of entitlement is absolutely insane. And they know exactly what to say. Throw out an allegation that nobody saw, nobody has verification of, cannot be proven, and doesn't make sense in the context of the evidence that we in fact do have. Very well done. Historically, that's worked extremely well. Now, the development issued a statement Thursday saying it's working with the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office investigation of the incident that has gained national attention and wants everyone to feel safe there, saying, quote, "It is deeply important to us that everyone feels safe in the communities they call home. We're taking this matter very seriously by working diligently with the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office as their investigation is ongoing." That was from Taylor Morrison, a company statement attributed to a spokesperson. However, that statement seemed to not necessarily jibe with this piece of video that we saw that does not lend itself to everybody, quote, feeling safe here. You know, Steve was mad when they said his legal name. You know he was mad. He like, bruh, like how you just gonna use my legal? Now I can't even do nothing racist. You know what I mean? Like I was fully committed to the racism and now you got my name out here. Like, bruh, come on. Oh, the power of video. And it's not lost on me that these are the kinds of things that get scrubbed from social media platforms all the time. An email from the development company also said, despite social media comments to the contrary, no parties involved in the incident are members of the Homeowners Association. So there you have it. Absolutely no real rights or claims to be patrolling the neighborhood in this particular way as a group to follow one person after a hurricane. I mean, there are certainly a lot worse racist actions, but in terms of the level of racism that you have to feel in order to feel entitled to behave this way and have the time and energy to feel this way after a hurricane is quite high.
What's going on, buddy?
Nigga done brought a team out here.
I don't know if you're going to be able to take home the prize for Racist of the Week. However, this is a particularly competitive one. Our second nominee, Michigan Judge Kathleen Ryan. Now, if that name rings a bell, it's probably because we've been here before. She's been nominated here before. Roll that clip.
Well, if you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of.
And not only did she receive a nomination, I also gave a nomination to her colleagues, Oakland County Chief Probate Judge Linda Hallmark, who didn't see fit to make any sort of moves after she became aware that one of her judges had this level of open racism and still had the ability to affect black people's lives. That was fine for her until everything hit the media. Also, there's Oakland County Probate Judge Daniel O'Brien, who said, yeah, that's not representative of her, but we all got her back. We respect the authority of the Michigan Supreme Court. However, we look forward to vindicating Judge Ryan in the appropriate forum. Well, guess what? There's more.
Now to an update on a story the 7 investigators first broke last month. A local judge accused of making racist and homophobic comments.
Well, tonight, 7 investigator Heather Catallo has obtained more recordings of the judge. Here's Heather with what she's learned now.
Judge Kathleen Ryan was removed from her docket in late August, and I have learned that investigators from the Judicial Tenure Commission have been conducting interviews about the judge's alleged behavior with employees at the Oakland County Probate Court. The question now is, will she be taken off the bench for good or allowed to go back to work?
I can honestly say that, okay, I'm not systemically racist, I'm a new racist.
The 7 investigators were the first to reveal the recordings that Oakland County officials say prompted Judge Kathleen Ryan's removal from her docket in August.
Black. I'm so off at this Black Lives Matter, hashtag Me Too, all this. Oh my God, I'm like, you.
Okay, so you want to merge Black Lives Matter with Me Too, because those are two completely separate movements, other than the fact that they are trying to achieve some level of justice for a group historically overlooked by our criminal justice system. Oh, I got it. So it's not so much that black people bother you, it's that justice bothers you, which is a great quality for a judge.
Ryan is the Oakland County Chief Probate Pro Tem Judge.
The Honorable Kathleen A. Ryan presiding. Good morning. You may be seated.
And she's been on the bench for more than 13 years. Attorney Edward Hutton is the Oakland County Probate Court Administrator.
I've never met anybody that enjoys hurting people and brags about it the way she does, or intimidating people.
Does any of that track? Huh? Does any of that track with a person who very specifically has a problem with underserved or ignored or disenfranchised communities achieving justice? Does that little comment track with it? And yes, I'm still looking at you, Probate Judge Daniel O'Brien and Chief Probate Judge Linda Hallmark, for standing by her, because that's not representative.
Hutton is in charge of running everything that's not under the judge's purview inside one of the state's largest probate courts. He alleges Judge Ryan has been calling him both during work and after hours for years. And Hutton says during those hours and hours of calls, Judge Ryan said highly inappropriate and racist things.
But this whole Black Lives Matter stuff, they're like, everyone's all entitled. Let's assume that they did get screwed.
Okay, let's just stop us right there. So we're entitled for asserting that our lives matter. That makes us entitled. Okay, so to not be entitled would be to go along with a system that has made us feel in such a way where we even need to assert that our lives matter. Got it.
Screwed just because of the nature of their color and the way America is, systemic racism, all that. Fine.
What you mean fine? What you mean fine? How you ignore? What you mean fine? Like, does she understand how the English language works? Like, do you even know what you just said?
But don't they have an obligation to step up to the plate too? I mean, think about it. All they have to do is look at their history, like the whole baby mamas and the dads taking off, and it's like you guys have an obligation too. You want us to treat you equally, you gotta step up and do the same job. You don't get to be a lazy.
So let me ask you this. Kathleen Ryan. What are the qualifications that a citizen needs to hit in order to be treated equally? I just need to know, what are the job and family requirements that we need to hit in order to be treated equally? Go ahead, I'll wait. And pretty much assume that whatever you give me, I will find you somebody that has gone far and above that and not been treated equally. Yeah. You know what I want in a judge is somebody who will cede systemic racism and then say, look at your history, why don't you step up to the plate? Michigan, what y'all doing? Huh? I need to know what y'all are doing, Michigan. I need to know how, not the racism, it's not the racism, it's the ignorance. It's the level of ignorance that somebody is able to take onto a judge's bench and apparently not have that ignorance be problematic enough for her colleagues, right, Linda Hallmark and Daniel O'Brien?
Why did you start recording the calls?
I just felt like it wasn't going to change. Nothing's manipulated in it. It's conversations that I was a part of, and I'm absolutely willing to testify to the authenticity of every single one of them.
Hutton says he's always been concerned Judge Ryan's powerful friends in Oakland County might protect her.
I hate to say it, knock on wood, I really kind of am untouchable. They can't touch me. They can't touch my salary. They can't touch my job. All they can do is have somebody run against me. Good luck.
Okay, a couple of things. Number one, this is an issue we all need to look at. The fact that you had somebody with this level of fundamental misunderstanding of not only history, but the English language, who was able to ascend to a judge's bench, but also the fact that the level of difficulty there is in removing somebody with that level of ignorance and fundamental misunderstanding of history and English language from the judge's bench. That is something that we all need to grapple with, number one. Number two, the reason why it is so difficult to remove people like that is because of the inaction of all of the people around her that allowed things to get to this point where a whistleblower, and shout out to him, thought it was damning enough, not a black person, mind you, and not a woman, thought that her behavior was damning enough that he had to go to the media.
New villain in town.
So what that tells me is y'all all gotta go. That's what it tells me, because she exhibited this behavior. She definitely gotta go. But that wasn't disqualifying for you. And that tells me about your judgment. Fellow judges, y'all all gotta go.
Hutton says Ryan has bragged in the past about knowing people on the Judicial Tenure Commission.
And I would add that in and of itself, just the last part would be enough to tamp out this kind of behavior. But because they protect one another, we always go at cops for protecting one another, talking about the blue wall and whatnot. They want some smoke. They need it.
My buddy Monty Burmeister, he's on the JTC.
Hey, Monty Burmeister. Yeah, we want to holler at you. Yeah, we need to holler at you, Monty Burmeister. Yeah, no, she called you out by name.
Hutton says in the past, Judge Ryan also talked about how the rest of the Oakland County judges would support her.
I'm pretty untouchable. So you guys really want to be so you got 22 judges who are guess what? They're still going to back me.
Okay, so it's two kinds of judges that you have in Oakland County, Michigan, according to Kathleen Ryan. You have P's and you have the ones that will protect her for her racism. That's it. You got P's and the ones that are willing to protect her for her racism. So congratulations for enabling this kind of behavior. Because she just threw all y'all under the bus, as well she should have.
This isn't the first time that Judge Ryan has allegedly made statements about her status as a judge. In November of 2021, Wixom police arrested Ryan for domestic assault. That charge was later dropped, but police records say Ryan hit her boyfriend in the face, and when she was arrested, she allegedly mentioned she was a judge and yelled obscenities at the officer, saying she was going to, quote, come after the officer.
That sounds like a lot of baby mama behavior to me. It does, yeah. It sound like a lot of baby mama behavior to me. You know, Judge Ryan, if you want to be treated equally, don't you got to step up to the plate? You know, don't you have to do your part? I mean, look at your history.
Judges are at the center of representing the system of justice to the public. And it's not only important the way in which they handle their work, but the view that the public has of them.
Law professor Larry Dubin is a legal ethics expert. Dubin says Judge Ryan's statements about race and being untouchable have the potential for serious consequences from the JTC, because even the appearance of misconduct can violate the code of judicial conduct.
I would say that if a judge believes that he or she is basically untouchable, that they basically can do whatever they want to do, and there will not be any consequences for it, is really mistaken. So the Supreme Court is going to be concerned, even if a judge is creating a bad image before the public.
She's a judge, and she makes decisions from the bench that affect individuals' lives and families' lives and have a rippling effect throughout our communities, our county, our state, and it just can't be allowed to continue.
I did reach out to Judge Ryan's attorneys. They did not comment on these new recordings, but previously told us, quote, "We respect the authority of the Michigan Supreme Court. However, we look forward to vindicating Judge Ryan in the appropriate forum."
I had a lot of fun with that comment in the first video. You look forward to vindicating her? Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. I will disagree with the analysts who were saying that a judge who feels that they are untouchable and whatnot and they can do whatever is mistaken. No, they're not mistaken. That's how we got to this point. That's how we had to take a whistleblower going to the media, because the rest of the judges wasn't gonna say nothing, and you wasn't listening to any of the people who complained. So sounds to me like that was the one accurate and correct thing that she said. Congratulations to you, Kathleen Ryan, for your second Racist of the Week nominee. And while we're at it, congratulations to Linda Hallmark and Daniel O'Brien as well for your second Racist of the Week nominee. And if I knew more of the Oakland County probate judges' names, they would all, you know what, just send them a case. See, send them a case of Racist of the Week nominees. Yeah. And matter of fact, put the whistleblower's name on it. Put his name on it with a nice little bow in front. Let's go ahead and do that. We also have one other update before we close. Obviously, we've talked at length here in this space about Mark Robinson out of North Carolina. Well, it seems that Mark Robinson has decided to sue CNN. I wonder why.
This is not us. These are not our words, and this is not anything that is characteristic of me, nor has it ever been. The people here of North Carolina know I have been completely transparent about my history. All the warts, we put them all out. We let folks know about it.
I got a question. Can Michael Eric Dyson sue CNN? You know, for what happened? I, for one, implore CNN to take this to court, because we need discovery in the worst kind of way. Like America needs discovery in the worst kind of way. Whatever happens with the election in November, we're gonna need something that brings us all together and distracts us from all the nonsense that there will inevitably be, no matter which way that goes. I think we need the Mark Robinson files, like in November. Like we need the Mark Robinson files, CNN, so make that happen. Also, I always like to close Racist of the Week on a happy note whenever I possibly can. And I want to send a shout out to former President Jimmy Carter, who said his goal was to live long enough to vote for Kamala Harris for president. And you know what? He did.
And the oldest living former president, Jimmy Carter, says he's voting for Kamala Harris in November.
Congratulations and thank you for doing your civic duty and being a model citizen in and out of office. And you know what? If Jimmy Carter can vote, so can you. So get on it. Huh? Oh, that? Yeah, we reached 200K just last night. Thank you to each and every one of my subscribers. And also special shout out to those that were with me live during the CNN town hall with Kamala Harris and Anderson Cooper. I'm gonna have to clip that response and put that out on the timeline at some point over the course of the next couple of days. So look out for a couple of unique pieces of content from me in celebration of the 200,000. But I, for one, am extremely grateful. Now back to this dragon. Today's nominee, Donald Trump. He's on quite the Racist of the Week run. Is that 3 Racist of the Week nominations in 1 week? He must be ramping up for the election. There was that podcast with Patrick Bet-David.
Really like me. And I think black women do too. But they have a woman who is black, although you would say she's Indian, but she is black. But she really, a lot of people didn't know, which is true. But
I learned about it just a couple months ago. Maybe, you know, the fact
that she's black,
yeah.
Or that she's Indian.
The fact that she's black, I thought she was Indian until a couple months ago. Things change. I mean,
a lot of people. Well,
because if you follow baseball, Sammy
Right.
Sosa kind of, you know, you
Right.
sometimes have to respect people. They
Sammy.
change, right? So I thought maybe she was doing a Sammy Sosa the other way.
Yes, Sammy. No, I watched that last week, and I think he spoke down to black men. I thought it was terrible the way he spoke to them. But
you think it's effective? You think he still carries the same stick as he did, you know, maybe 8 years ago or 12 years ago?
No. I saw a guy named Van Jones. He's I don't think anybody knows who he is. He's a commentator for CNN. And he came to see me in the White House, and he was crying. And he was with a group of people that was, they were begging to do it. They were 5 votes short. He made a plea to me, Van Jones, total sleazebag.
Then there was the John Kelly revelations.
Now, it comes hard on the heels of new reporting out today in The Atlantic on the former president's alleged affinity for or wish for generals who were like Adolf Hitler's generals, and his alleged contempt for the family of a slain Mexican-American soldier. First, the New Atlantic reporting, Jeffrey Goldberg, Atlantic's editor-in-chief. Goldberg's piece is titled, "Trump, I Need the Kind of Generals That Hitler Had." But he leads it off with a story of an Army private named Vanessa Guillen, who was bludgeoned to death by a fellow soldier at Fort Hood in April 2020.
Donald Trump asked, quote, "Did they bill us for the funeral? What did it cost?" According to attendees and to contemporaneous notes of the meeting taken by a participant, an aide answered, "Yes, we received a bill. The funeral cost $60,000. Trump became angry. Quote, "It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a fucking Mexican."
And he could get another one just for this.
And I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, "Oh my God, that's unbelievable." I had to say it.
Sorry, that wasn't racism. I just wanted to play it again.
Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not taking the same exam.
Yeah.
And I think it bothers people. They're not taking the same exam. He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair tonight. That's what's unfair tonight. They're not taking the same exam. Look, she has policies. She may not articulate them perfectly every time. She may not put the stories in the right places, but she's fighting for actual ideas that will help real people. And he's talking about people's penises.
But right now, it's time for some long overdue consequences.
The 5 men who make up the Central Park Five, now calling themselves the Exonerated Five. They're suing the former president over his remarks during last month's debate. As a reminder, the Exonerated Five were a group of Black and Latino teenage boys wrongfully accused of raping a woman in New York Central Park in 1989. After hours of interrogation, they confessed but later retracted their statements, saying they were coerced. They pled not guilty but were ultimately convicted and served several years in prison. More than a decade later, DNA evidence and the confession of a convicted rapist proved their innocence. Today, now free and advocating for criminal justice reform, the group has filed a defamation lawsuit against Trump for these comments at his one and only debate with Vice President Harris.
They said they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty.
Okay, but all 5 had pleaded not guilty, and the victim of the attack, which was horrific, survived.
Okay, I just want to put a pin in this right now and think about the level of arrogance that it takes for you to get up at a debate stage decades after this occurred and speak about whether or not people deserve their freedom without even knowing the basic core tenets of the case. Just think about the arrogance that it takes to get up there and just speak freely about a case that has been around your ankle for quite some time. It's not like people haven't brought this up to you before, but here you are decades later saying that someone died. You gotta wonder what kind of a man would feel that much confidence speaking about something like that without even bothering at any point to look up the basic facts.
Trump's comments on the case go back decades when he published this newspaper advertisement in New York's 4 main newspapers just days after the 5 boys' wrongful confessions in 1989 coerced confessions, saying, bring back the death penalty and, quote, they should be forced to suffer, and when they kill, they should be executed for their crimes.
Now, you know who I would like to holler at right now is all of my Trump for criminal justice people. Yeah, all the people talking about the First Step Act and all the people talking about Trump is just like us. That's who I want to holler at right now, because you would think that if Trump's eyes had been open to the experience of black and brown folks coming from disenfranchised, poor communities who don't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the criminal justice system, as much stark contrast as I could set that with how Trump has been treated with the criminal justice system, that's enough for me and most people with an operable brain. But I understand you're not operating with our sense of logic and fairness. So this is what I want to ask you. Wouldn't you think a person in Trump's position at this point would understand all of the forces at play and fall back from his previous position? Wouldn't criminal justice reform Trump sing a different tune when it came to the Central Park 5 today?
Joining me now is Shannon Spector, a trial lawyer who represents the exonerated 5. Shannon, thank you for joining Top Story tonight. So do you have a case here, and what is your lawsuit about?
Well, thank you, Tom, for having me. And I could not express it better than you did at the top of this segment. On September 10th, in the debate with Vice President Harris, Donald Trump wrongly stated that these 5 men pled guilty. He wrongly stated that they killed the victim. Neither is true. And in fact, these 5 men have been thoroughly exonerated. The guilty person admitted guilt. His DNA was matched to the victim. He was convicted. He went to prison. These 5 men not only were exonerated, but the DA filed a motion with the court to have their convictions vacated. The judge signed that order. So there's no doubt that these men are not guilty. And Mr. Trump persists in this 35-year campaign of hate against these 5 men, even though he knows better. He knows now for over 20 years that these men are not guilty of that heinous crime.
Now, why would a man who is actively trying to court support from black and brown people, especially from black men, why would a man like Trump continue to assert the guilt of the Central Park 5, even in the face of evidence exonerating him, when he knows that this is a linchpin of support for those misguided souls that will appear all over Talk News and brownface and try and whitewash his nonsense? Like, why would he do that? The only justification that I can muster is one of the things that we know about Donald Trump is that at no point can he ever admit that he was wrong. Ever. At no point will he ever apologize. At no point will he ever take a step back. And it is for that reason that even in this case, where you have all of the exonerating evidence, even when it's in his own best interest to fall back, because that would coincide a lot more with the false nonsense narratives of Trump for criminal justice reform and Trump like us. Even when it's in his best interest to fall back, he cannot do it because he can never admit that he was wrong. And this is somebody on the precipice of the White House.
The Trump campaign released a statement responding to your lawsuit, saying in part this is just another frivolous election interference lawsuit filed by desperate left-wing activists in an attempt to distract the American people from Kamala Harris's dangerously liberal agenda and failing campaign.
And there it is right there. And there it is right there. All of my black men undecideds, all the people Obama was talking to, all my black conservatives, I'm gonna need y'all to make some sense of that for me. I'm gonna need you to do some math on that for me, because it's not possible that these men who were innocent and had years of their lives taken away from them and had huge figures in the city advocate for their death, and even decades later having their name dragged through the mud in a national presidential debate. It's not possible that they could feel wronged. That's not possible. That is not possible. This has to be to try and distract from Kamala Harris's flailing campaign. Because us, on the other hand, we flying high. We talking Arnold Palmer. We just picked up a second shift at McDonald's.
Everybody.
Hey,
I'm having a lot of fun here, everybody.
oh my God, oh my God.
Hello, everybody.
You can take this, right?
One of the 5 appears in a radio ad, as you know, for the Harris campaign. Does that bolster the Trump campaign's claims that this is politically motivated?
No, Tom, it doesn't. I'm not here to talk about politics, about elections, or anything of the sort. We're seeking redress for these 5 men for being horrifically defamed in front of 67 million Americans during that debate. I think it's unfortunate that President Trump had his campaign spokesperson undertake that attack against these 5 men instead of having his lawyer respond and say whether the lawsuit is true or false.
And let me also add that part and parcel with never taking a step back and never apologizing is doubling down when you are wrong. So these men who had you advocate for the death penalty and had you go on a decades-long campaign for their guilt, even after being exonerated, and bring it up at a presidential debate, now get to be slandered because they bothered to stand up for themselves. I wonder where we've seen that before.
We do know that the cemetery has filed an incident report, and defense officials tell us that's because members of the Trump campaign staff were aggressive both physically and verbally towards a cemetery staffer. That staffer was trying to enforce rules that prohibit campaigns from filming at grave sites across the cemetery, but especially at Section 60. Section 60, as you noted, is an emotional spot in the cemetery for so many because it is where many young veterans killed in Iraq and Afghanistan are buried. The Trump campaign denies that any incident occurred and that the campaign had explicit permission from the families to be in Section 60.
Now, in terms of the incident, there was no incident. From what I understand, a woman had a mental issue. And I don't know if it was TDS or it was something else, but it was handled and it was minor.
Shane, I want to ask you about that. What does the law say? Could Trump come out tomorrow and say, oh, you know what, I made a mistake. I was at the debate. I was under pressure. I simply misspoke. Would that be enough to drop this lawsuit, or that's not enough?
Tom, I don't know of any human being to whom Donald Trump has ever apologized. So I'm not holding my breath that he would apologize to these 5 men. But if he would do that, that would be fantastic. If he would issue a retraction, that would be fantastic. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Finally, the exonerated 5 received $41 million from New York City when they were cleared in 2002. As you have mentioned, these comments from former President Trump sort of make them have to relive what they went through when they were sitting in prison for a crime they didn't commit. What are your clients seeking now?
All of it. All of it. What are we seeking? Just put all of it. In the box where it asks you how much money you just put all of it. We want it all.
They're seeking to clear their names once again. This has all been dredged up again. They've been accused on national television to a huge audience of having pled guilty and having killed this woman. Neither of those things is true. They're seeking a trial to clear their names. They're seeking damages to compensate them for their loss of reputation and their emotional distress. And they're seeking to have an award of punitive damages against Mr. Trump to punish him and deter him from making these kinds of statements and taking this kind of conduct in the future.
Now, one thing that I will say about Donald Trump, and it might be the only semi-positive thing that I ever have to say about him, is money does not deter him from a whole lot. No, for most of us, you apologize and then you can go play. That's enough for us. You put millions of dollars on the table and he still won't apologize. Exhibit A, E. Jean Carroll.
The whole point of this enormous damages amount, unprecedented damages amount, is to tell Donald Trump to shut up. Right? If you could think of it this way, every time Donald Trump wants to insult Jean Carroll, he's going to have to write a $40 million check for each sentence. That's how bad this is. I can't believe his lawyers haven't succeeded in just telling him, look, campaign for president, run for president, make your accusations about a two-tiered justice system, but leave this alone. Stop attacking people who are no longer public citizens. Stop attacking people where you've already lost and the court has already said what you've done is liable, because every time he insults her again, he's going to have to cut another $20 to $30 million check.
A few moments later.
But she made up a story and fabricated 100% that I attacked her at Bergdorf Goodman. You know, it's very interesting. I don't think they were allowed to use this either. Her favorite show is Law and Order. And there's a almost exact story as her story in Law and Order.
So I appreciate that you made the stakes very clear, and I appreciate that you challenged him to apologize. But as he said, I'm definitely not going to hold my breath in that regard. Now, I don't know exactly whether or not this has been assigned yet, this particular case. I know who I want to adjudicate it, though. I got a judge in mind.
In arguing why I should impose a particular sentence, she tells me about her ailments, her loss, her struggles in life. But in reality, for those of you who may have been here earlier this morning and seen some of the folks who've occupied that chair before Ms. Peters, there could be not much in the way of a comparison in terms of the type of sympathy one would extend to Ms. Peters. Those folks didn't have 4 lawyers representing them. They didn't have a team of assistants helping them. They're not getting rides in private jets all over the country.
I know, not in the jurisdiction, but I'm sure he slandered them in Colorado at some point. I can think of some more people. Can Stormy Daniels have a case? She's having, Stormy Daniels, Donald Trump is the only situation I've ever heard of where the ugly side claims that nothing happened. Even beyond all just normal logical comprehension of the facts. That is wild. I can think of a great number of possibilities because Trump's slander role is wild. And by the way, can we add some defendants to the case as well? Because it's not enough for Donald Trump to be out here on this decades-long campaign. He has brought some people with him.
Central Park 5, there were so many people. You had a Democrat
governor, Democrat DA who prosecuted the guys, and they admitted to it. There were a lot of people in New York
they were
at that time.
exonerated and freed, and there was never an apology, never sorry, never a my bad.
However, I will say that you have to look at somebody and what they actually have done.
And if you think I'm going to devote an entire video to dragging Laura Trump by her vocal cords, you are absolutely right. That one is coming soon. Now, when it comes to the criminal justice system, obviously we have a long ways to go. I mean, the Kathleen Ryans of the world are still out here.
Now to an update on a story the 7 investigators first broke last month. A local judge accused of making racist and homophobic comments.
Well, tonight, 7 investigator Heather Catallo has obtained more recordings of the judge. Here's Heather with what she's learned now.
Judge Kathleen Ryan was removed from her docket in late August, and I have learned that investigators from the Judicial Tenure Commission have been conducting interviews about the judge's alleged behavior with employees at the Oakland County Probate Court. The question now is, will she be taken off the bench for good or allowed to go back to work?
I can honestly say that, okay, I'm not systemically racist, I'm a new racist.
The 7 investigators were the first to reveal the recordings that Oakland County officials say prompted Judge Kathleen Ryan's removal from her docket in August.
Black. I'm so off at this Black Lives Matter, hashtag Me Too, all this. Oh my God, I'm like, you.
But we have seen some light. There's this case, there's the aforementioned Judge Matthew Barrett.
What do you think the chances are that you and or Donald Trump are in prison a year or two from now?
Well, I'll tell you, if I thought I was going to prison, I would probably be on the beach somewhere.
Anything I missed? Anything else we need to address?
Judge, I think you missed a sentencing on count 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Count 6 is criminal impersonation. That's also consecutive. That's 15 months to the Department of Corrections. So it's 8.5 years total, plus the 6 months.
And of course, I gotta give a shout out to Texas's Judge David Fleischer.
Mr. Blake, you're charged with possession of marijuana. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent.
Defendant crossed an authorized crossing point from convenience store to apartment complex.
Wait, he did what?
He crossed an unauthorized crossing point, so I guess he crossed the street.
Is he jaywalking?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Walking while black.
A PC search was conducted, and the officer observed a large sack of marijuana.
I don't think so. Walking while black. I don't think so.
Now that I think about it, it was a couple other cases that put wind underneath my wings this week.
Well, in Lexington, former University of Kentucky student Sophia Rosing has been sentenced to a year in prison. As we've reported, Rosing pled guilty earlier this year to assault charges after she was caught on camera using racial slurs and attacking a student employee in a dorm. The video went viral in 2022. ABC 36's Anna Medina breaks down what happened yesterday in the courtroom, including Rosing's message to the woman she assaulted.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, you know we're gonna talk about that. Today's nominee, CNN panelist Ryan Gudersky. Now here I was minding my own business, making plans for how I'm going to watch and go live for Kamala's speech on Tuesday, her last pitch to the American people, when I get a comment from my man Russell, who says you need to watch tonight's episode of Abby Phillips' show. You absolutely need to break this down. And I turned it on just in time to see this.
I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's back it up a little bit. Give me the context.
All day long, the Trump campaign have been saying, it's a comedian, it's a comedian, it's a comedian. It wasn't just a comedian. Park the comedian and what he said, and you still have Rudy Giuliani, you still have his childhood friend, you still have his donor saying the pimp handlers.
That's right.
Just one of those people 10 years ago would have ended a Republican campaign. John McCain, Mitt Romney wouldn't have survived one of those people, right?
Yeah.
And these people are, there's so many of them, it's classic flooding the zone, Steve Bannon style. We can't even talk about all of them because there's too many of them to get through. In fact, you should give a raise to the producer who had to do that supercut, that they had to sit through all of that. You didn't even get through all the clips. There was still Tucker Carlson doing replacement, Don Jr. did replacement, and then Trump himself turned up and talked about invading and occupying our country, which is the language of the far right. He talked about enemy of the people, which is Joseph Goebbels. He talked about enemy of the enemy within.
And this is a brilliant point by Mehdi Hasan, because it is so predictable that they would say, hey, it's a comedian, as if there weren't 10, 12, 15, 20 other extremely offensive things that came out of that MSG rally that would have ended literally anybody else's campaign that's ever run for president. That is something that bears repeating.
If you don't want to be called, stop doing.
You're called an
anti-Semite
more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people would sit there and, no, by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. Okay. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. That is the response that we get live on CNN. Now, what exactly is he going to do here? Is he A, going to acknowledge what he said immediately and apologize? Is he B, going to do what I feel like is the default MAGA thing and lie and tell you that you didn't hear what you just heard? Would he C, actually, which is another favorite of MAGA, deflect and talk about all the harmful rhetoric that he's also heard during the course of this particular show? Or D, maybe like knock a drink over at the table and run like Dave Chappelle did when he was playing Obama?
The thing is that...
Did you just say I should die?
You should not.
No,
did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Hold on.
Did your guest just say I should be killed on live TV?
I see, we're going with B. We're going with B. You didn't hear what you just heard. You know, the thing that I said in this sound studio live on air with cameras rolling. Y'all didn't hear that.
Guys, let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
Because you said I'm a big supporter
of the Palestinians.
Hamas?
Guys, let me
stop. Palestinians.
Are you?
Am I what? No, of course I'm not.
Palestinians
I apologize.
Are you a racist, violent person inciting violence against
Ryan,
that's disgusting.
that is completely.
Then I apologize.
Good job, CNN. Let's have first block say the Muslim guy should be blown up on TV.
Don't say then I apologize. You literally.
I thought you said Hamas.
You didn't think I said Hamas. I said I support Palestinian rights.
Yes, I did.
Why? Because when you hear
What's funny is Rudy Giuliani said this yesterday, so you're a great guest to be here to defend Rudy Giuliani.
Give me racism.
Two phenomenal points being raised by Mehdi Hasan. The blatant lie that so first he lied and said that you didn't hear what you just heard. Second, he lied by saying he thought that Mehdi Hasan had said that he was pro-Hamas, because CNN regularly platforms people in studio who are pro-Hamas, who used to host shows on MSNBC, because that's a thing. And the other point that he made, I think, might be my favorite, which is, you didn't come with the racist comment because we were discussing how good Amazing Fruit was when we were kids, and I've never had a gummy bear as good as Amazing Fruit, and if I ever find the person responsible with discontinuing Amazing Fruit, we gonna have words and they're not gonna be friendly. And then you accidentally came with racism. No, you came with racism in the context of trying to excuse other people's racism. So it came out of your it's okay racism argument, your own racism. That pretty much flows.
Give me 1 second. Today, and so at this point,
this is what we're in now. This is America in 2024.
Here's what I will say.
Forget the racism.
That's right.
It's I should
That's
die.
Right.
I didn't say that. You
said, what does beeper mean? Don't give me your fake ignorance.
I did not say you should die.
Why did you say with my beeper?
So what did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper?
So what did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper? No, you didn't. You said, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Ryan, stop talking.
At least have the guts to support your racist comment.
Hang on. I'm so sorry.
Of course he doesn't have the guts to support his racist comment. He's jumping in front of other people's racist comments and trying to tell us how they're not racist. So if he's not going to acknowledge other people's blatant racism, he's certainly not going to acknowledge his own.
And what you just said
Kamala
right
Harris
here,
is a pimp.
apologize, but I will tell you, I don't accept that apology, and you didn't even say it
That's
to
fine.
me.
I didn't say it
that
to
was
you.
disgusting, but I can be offended when you don't even say it to me. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I was offended by what he said yesterday. And I'm offended that the former president and potentially future president would allow it and go for 12 hours and not say, I don't care, because you know what? When Kamala Harris put out statements about switching up opinions, it wasn't good enough for Republicans.
Why are you looking at me?
Now, multiple things can be true here. The first thing I want to say, the point that she made about it doesn't have to be said to me for me to be offended is real. And that's one of the things I've discussed repeatedly here on this platform is allyship. I talk about why it shouldn't just solely be the responsibility of black celebrities, or in the world of sports, because that's where we discuss these things, black athletes, to advocate on behalf of black personhood. It should be in everybody's interest. It shouldn't be the responsibility of women to advocate for women's personhood and for them to be seen equally in all facets of American life. It should be in all of our best interests. And so I appreciate what she just said, because I just did a whole piece on MSG and went to town on the comments about Puerto Ricans. The second point, because I just got to keep it 100. When I do something wrong and somebody else tells me they don't accept my apology, I get tight. I'll be honest, I get tight. I do. I just got to call it what it is. I get tight. Why are you making this harder than it got to be?
And go for 12 hours and not say, I don't care, because you know what? When Kamala Harris put out statements about switching up opinions, it wasn't good enough for Republicans.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you said it.
Why don't you take this back a little bit and let her take the show?
You know what? No, listen,
You're kind of monopolizing
Ashley,
her show.
Y'all saw what just happened? Huh? I just need to make sure y'all saw what just. Go ahead and run that back. Go ahead and run that back.
And go for 12 hours and not say, I don't care, because you know what? When Kamala Harris put out statements about switching up opinions, it wasn't good enough for Republicans.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you said it.
Why don't you take this back a little bit and let her take the show?
You know what? No, listen.
You're kind of monopolizing
Ashley,
her show.
Y'all saw it. Y'all saw it the same way as I did. That should be Kevin teaching tape. There isn't a clear example of Kevin behavior. You really gonna sit there and gaslight her as an angry black woman while advocating for another black woman to take charge of the show? The show that if she could have taken charge of, wouldn't none of y'all be here.
We have a lot of heated conversations on this show. That is
Let
true.
her take it back.
But one of the things that I do not appreciate is when we cross the line. Okay? I don't appreciate that.
I apologize.
And I
apologize.
appreciate the apology, but I don't want a conditional apology for saying something that is completely. It is not civil
I
in the
misheard
slightest.
what he said.
Okay?
I thought he said Hamas.
There are lines here.
Yeah, I went on
we
CNN
gotta
and said
stop.
I support Hamas. What kind
Listen,
of
we
idiots
gotta-
do you
we
take
gotta-
us for?
Why you always lying? Why you always lying? Oh my gosh. Although, to be fair, I guess if you bring in somebody to make excuses about what we saw at MSG over the weekend, they're probably going to lie about other aspects of life.
We got to stop this.
That's a ridiculous thing
We
to
have
say.
to stop this stuff. Okay, we're going to go to the break now because I don't think anybody was served by what just happened. But let this be a reminder that there is a too far. There's a too far in our politics, and there's a too far at this table. Okay, let's not let that happen again.
Now, Abby Phillip would come back from break with an additional apology, having removed the offender, but also the offended.
We're back here, and before we get started, I want to just address what happened in the last segment. And first, I want to apologize to Mehdi Hasan for what was said at this table. It was completely unacceptable. When we get this discussion started, you'll see that Ryan is not at the table. There is a line that was crossed there, and it's not acceptable to me. It's not acceptable to us at this network. We want discussion. We want people who disagree with each other to talk to each other. But when you cross the line of a complete lack of civility, that is not going to happen here on this show. It's a heated time. We're in the middle of a political season. We are 8 days from a presidential election. But we can have conversations about what is happening in this country without resorting to the lowest of the lowest kind of discourse. want to address that. And I want to apologize to the viewers at home because we want to be able to hear each other. We want to be able to talk to each other. And we plan to do that in this next segment.
CNN would release a statement. While I will not object to that decision, what I will say though, CNN, during the course of my evening, this is what y'all had on.
There are, listen, I'm not going to get into, different networks, different decisions of what to cover and what not to cover. I would just say that
decisions with you.
Right, but I'm saying there are other networks that are talking about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security.
They're not on the ballot. Why don't you just talk about your candidate, your principal, and
Actually,
it doesn't take a lot of courage to say, it doesn't take a lot of courage to say, on the policies I'm with him, but this is garbage.
Okay, you didn't hear what I just said. I said there are other networks talking about President Trump's speech with regards to his policies. Like he's talking about.
It's not on the networks. Why don't we talk about what they're saying at the
rally? It might not be on this network,
but
that doesn't mean it's not on other networks.
But is it our job to whitewash a Trump rally or to sanitize
But you're
it?
not. But you're covering clips from 5 different speakers. And
But
what about all the other speakers?
a lot of people may like an extended child tax credit, but they don't want racists.
People care about the most. I would say if you ask undecided voters, what issues do you care about the most? They're talking about their breaking point right now. They're talking about the economy in this country, being able to afford milk and eggs and gas and energy costs. They want a border secure. They want safe streets. They want.
You know what they don't care about?
Foreign wars.
Migrants
they want a president.
They don't care about that. That's garbage.
They
and
want
Trump
a
did
president
that
who
for
ends
3
foreign
weeks.
wars.
Can I put it in an alternative universe? That rally happens yesterday, and it's Kamala Harris's rally, and someone makes jokes like that. Would you be okay with that?
Well, I have seen plenty of comedians on the left.
Why is this Kamala Harris's problem? This is not Kamala Harris's problem.
Talking about
this is the Republican Party's problem.
But
you're
not
good
when you're
conservatively. I
but
know
not
you.
When you.
Can't you say that was garbage?
Or would you say that was a Nazi rally? Would you say Trump is Hitler?
I didn't say that.
No, but you wouldn't. You didn't. But the problem is that Hillary Clinton did.
But we're not talking about Hillary Clinton. I'm
Kamala
asking
Harris,
you. You're a good conservative.
Kamala Harris
can't you
just went with that narrative today.
Can't you just say that was garbage?
Kamala Harris went with that narrative today.
You won't say it.
But let's ask. I'm going to ask Jamal, who worked for Kamala Harris, about that in a moment. But can we? But on the Republican, as the Republican at the table, do you endorse what you just heard in the closing days of a campaign? Or
I think the president's campaign was correct to distance itself from that comment.
Just the lines?
Kick rocks.
Not to mention the king of excuse making himself, Scott Jennings.
And I totally think it's perfectly fine to be offended by it because some of the things that were said were offensive. But if you're offended by this, people from the entertainment industry saying vile and offensive things in the context of politics, Kamala Harris certainly has entertainment industry supporters that have said vile and offensive things. Not all of them were at her rallies. But if you look at some of the lyrics and other production that they've done, it is terrible, vile, and offensive. So if we're all going to professionally faint tonight, I would just say let's maybe do it on both sides of the line because I'm against it. I said it's not all been done. It's not all been done at any of her events.
Right, it hasn't been done at any of her events.
Some of the people who are her most vicious, some of her people that are her most ardent supporters have said things about women and domestic violence and the treatment of women and other issues that are truly beyond the pale. So I do think when you're in the entertainment industry, you get edgy, and this is what you get when you put them at your political rally.
So when you regularly platform people that are going to make excuses for the vilest of behavior, they are communicating to you and to the world that this is behavior they believe is acceptable and okay. So there's no reason for me to think that the kind of people that would excuse the kind of behavior that we saw this weekend wouldn't also engage in the kind of behavior that we saw this weekend. It just happened to happen on camera, but they've told you this is who they are.
Since she is the least vetted candidate, she's never got a vote, and she has been one interview where she had her vice president with her. In history, there's never been a candidate who's less better than Kamala Harris.
She's also the vice president of the United States.
Well, you wouldn't know that from her debate performance, where she pretended that she barely knew anything that the Biden administration was doing and wasn't responsible for any of it.
Well, she was too busy whooping your boy all over the stage to get to those things.
And the one that really takes the cake for me, when he tried to tell Bakari Sellers that protesters were at fault for the rise in crime post-pandemic.
Obviously, in the last couple of days, correct?
2 days ago.
Okay, let's play 90 and then you riff on it. Play cut 90, please.
Yesterday, Ryan, about how in the context of riots, he was saying, let's just bring the military into it to deal with American citizens. I mean, that happened yesterday.
Right, but the post-George Floyd riots resulted in an excess of over 15,000 black male deaths in this country. How?
Yeah.
The surge of violent crime, it was like Ferguson, the Ferguson effect and the Floyd effect.
Respectfully, you got to explain to me how George Floyd's death.
Yeah.
Because I need causation here.
Yes,
you really are
because what
messing me
happens
up
is
here.
after the Ferguson riot and after the Floyd riot, policemen, in fear of their jobs many times and political coverage, pull back from their jobs, resulting in an increased level of
listen, I got to stop you there because, hold on.
You can look at the Washington Post
Ryan, we got to
numbers on
stop you there
this.
because you're literally making a connection out of your own conjecture.
No,
you cannot
it's
just
a real
do
thing.
that.
Look up.
These people are stupid. Ryan, please.
Yeah, I loved it when what's his face started doing his foghorn impersonations. Like, I tell you, I never heard of this thing before.
Now I don't get to talk about this offense, so I'm just going to take this baton for a moment and try and see if I understand the logic correctly. So, because the protesters advocated for their full rights under the law and to be treated just like everybody else and for the police to do their job in a legal fashion. And if they can't be trusted to do so, some police oversight. They've proven they can't be trusted to do so. So we need some police oversight because the people protested and advocated for their full rights under the law. The police, in what I would call is a temper tantrum, but if I'm going to take your case, felt afraid of doing their jobs legally and therefore pulled back their services, resulting in elevated crime. So the blame is with the protesters because the police couldn't accept the demand that they do their jobs legally. Is that your argument? Because it sounds like that's your argument. I think grandstanding after a line step like this, given all that's said on a regular basis on CNN, to me rings as hollow as the filter on Carrie Lake's laptop.
To your city, to my city, all across this country.
Do you think people care if you're willing to accept the results of an election that was free and fair and that you filed multiple lawsuits that have not gone anywhere? And I should note, a defamation lawsuit that was filed against you, you did not contest it from a top Arizona election official that says you lied about him repeatedly.
Well, I think what you meant to ask is Carrie, things are really tough right now. And I know that people that are watching...
These are the questions I meant to ask with all due respect. I'm conducting this interview, but you're not answering those questions. And if that's your answer, that's fine. I just wanted to follow up on that.
I think what you meant to ask...
And yes, if you are a Muslim American and you have been watching all of this, not only did they tell you what they think of you this weekend, they told you again this week.
On day one of the Trump presidency, I'm restoring the travel ban, suspending refugee admissions.
So, the first thing, we must elect Donald J. Trump president because we must crush jihad!
Mehdi Hasan, you crushed it. You didn't deserve what happened. And I personally wanted to hear more of what you had to say coming out of this weekend.
This feeling. Well, the feelings
I'm obnoxious because I asked you if energy production's higher today than under Trump.
You're
that makes me
obnoxious
obnoxious
because I'm asking you why you would say that
I mean, I'm
Biden
obnoxious.
didn't thwart.
You're a racist. We want to play that game? You said Obama is not born in America. He's not one of us.
I said that?
Yeah, you said Trump is doing a great job asking for his birth certificate.
I said that?
You said he's not one of us. You said he jives and schmucks. Should we go down the record? You're going to call me obnoxious? Why don't we talk about your racism?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about your racism?
Why do you change the subject?
You said Black Lives Matter protesters are dogs.
As for you, Abby Phillip, I thought you handled that well once the line was crossed, but I obviously have given great voice to how out of control these panels become. And the one thing that I must say is if we have the ability to go to break and toss people off the panel.
you know, I want to resolve this with you putting your finger in my face. Let me finish, sir. Let me finish. Let me finish. You put your finger in my face and you were aggressive and you said you don't answer. Let me ask you a question, though.
I don't.
You don't ask me a question. I thought you told us, Abby, that we all should speak among each other, not wait for you. And if it's all right,
you're going to ask me for my number after the show?
Hang on, Scott and Michael.
Brother, don't start.
In the spirit of conversation at the table, we're gonna.
You couldn't do that for Michael Eric Dyson? Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and shout out to all of our new subscribers and our members here on the channel. As many of you guys know, we in fact have merch, and we're always coming up with new ideas and different things that you guys would want to see. Well, we are about in time for Thanksgiving and the holidays, and I want to know, what is it that you guys would like to have for the holidays? What is the kind of thing that you would either want to purchase for a loved one, or the kind of t-shirt that you would like to sport, especially if it's Thanksgiving dinner and they like red hats? Let those suggestions flow. Hit me at Reese@ReeseWaters.com.